I want to go back to modern society. Standing atop the cliff, the young man shouted toward the vast, boundless primeval forest. Beside him stood a maiden with a human upper body and a serpent's lower half, who was already used to this. Ever since Jiang Yang had been found and brought back by her sister 2.5 days earlier, he would climb the cliff behind the tribe and shout at the top of his lungs. When tribesfolk asked where this modern society was, he always rambled on in confusing terms that no one could understand. Still, she had picked up one key detail. Jiang Yang had said that people there could eat their fill without working. That filled her with envy. Within the serpent people tribe, every member had to work hard each day to receive food rations to fill their bellies. And that rule applied even to her, the chieftain's younger sister. If her sister caught her slacking off, she would only get one meal a day and have to go hungry until the next day to eat again. How wonderful it would be if she were born in such a place. No work every day, eat until full, then sleep, wake up and eat again. The serpent girl's mouth watered just imagining it. After shouting out his pent-up frustration, Jiang Yang felt a little better. For these past 2.5 days, he could not reconcile himself to the fact that he had been transported to a primitive world. He kept hoping he would lie down, wake up, and find himself back in modern-day civilization. Yet life was ironic. The harder you wished for something, the further it stayed out of reach. Every time he opened his eyes, all he saw was the same lush green primeval forest. He had even considered jumping off the cliff, wondering if death would send him home. But staring down at the 50 to 60 meter drop, he lost his nerve. He truly did not dare jump. Again and again, fear held him back like a coward. Thoughts of his beloved family, games, and his computer files back in the modern world were not enough to give him the courage to leap. Mom, Dad, your son can't get back. Go raise another kid. Watching the sunset glow spread across the sky, he shouted once more, tears welling in his eyes. He could not make sense of it. He had simply lain in a hospital for eye correction surgery and opened his eyes to find himself stranded in this primitive age. Lost in tangled thoughts, the serpent girl wiped the drool from her chin and spoke up to urge him. Yang, we need to head back. The forest grows dangerous once night falls. Lin, just a little longer. I want to watch the sunset. Sensing sorrow in his voice, Lin stopped pressing him to leave. As he gazed at the sky dyed crimson, the chaos churning inside, Jiang Yang slowly settled. A soft evening breeze brushed his shoulders. His eyes sharpened, all hesitation fading away. He finally knew what he needed to do. Since he lacked the courage to die, he might as well make the most of this terrible new life. He was only 22, in the prime of his youth. What was more, he had awakened a system upon arriving in this world. He would build a mighty domain for himself in this primitive land. A real man ought to strive for great achievements. A man born under heaven and earth should not wallow in endless gloom. He ought to grasp his opportunity and accomplish extraordinary feats. Thinking of his system, a translucent panel appeared before his eyes. Host, Jiang Yang remaining attribute points, 0 strength, 58 constitution, 60 agility, 50 talents. Library of Civilizations, physique of endurance. Library of Civilizations. This archive preserves the wisdom of countless human visionaries. The host may look up any knowledge he desires, or scan objects with his enhanced vision to acquire relevant information. Physique of endurance. Grants extraordinary stamina and resilience. Enhances fertility across different races. Host is encouraged to aid population growth. Reading through his stats and recalling what he had learned about this world, home to serpent, folk, tiger, eared folk, fox, eared folk, and other beast, human races, Jiang Yang thought his talents were excellent. His 3 basic attributes, however, were rather underwhelming. Still, considering how little exercise he had gotten in his previous life, he accepted that reality. While he prided himself on relying on his wits, physical strength was absolutely essential in this harsh, dangerous primitive world. Wait, there was also a new user gift pack? Joy surged through Jiang Yang. He tapped to claim it at once. Congratulations. You have earned one chance to increase one part of your body by 5 centimeters. Wait, what kind of new user reward was this? 5 centimeters for any body part. Why not 10? Moments later, Jiang Yang let out a long breath after using the reward. Behind him, Lin could no longer hold back and urged again. Yang, the sun has set. We must get back before dark. All right, let's go. Jiang Yang turned around to grab the berries he had spent half a day gathering, only for Lin's voice to ring out again. I already carried your berries. Hurry downhill. He looked toward her. The serpent girl stood slightly shorter than his 182-centimeter frame. After several days, Jiang Yang had grown accustomed to her human, serpent form. Lin was strikingly beautiful. Her golden vertical pupils glinted like gemstones, brimming with innocent candor. Her gentle, pure smile stirred a protective instinct within him. That feeling vanished completely once he learned she could easily lift 100 jin with her bare hands. Though she looked no older than 18, one solid blow from her could knock him senseless, or even kill him outright. This was no exaggeration. From his observations these past few days, such strength was normal for serpent people. Only yesterday, he had watched a serpent man carry an enormous moose back to camp. He estimated that moose weighed no less than 400 to 500 jin. Even with his 182-centimeter frame, he could not budge the beast an inch. The serpent man was genuinely superhuman. Once they returned to the serpent people tribe and turned in the berries, Jiang Yang was exhausted and headed straight for his hide skin tent to rest. He asked Lin to collect his evening food ration for him. Lin happily obliged. Every time, Jiang Yang gave her part of his food, letting her eat her fill. Jiang Yang was not intentionally being generous. He simply could not finish his rations. The tribe gave him the standard portion for adult tribesfolk, roughly 3 jin of roasted meat together with some tart wild berries. No ordinary human could finish 3 jin of meat, especially game meat with no salt or spices, heavy with raw meat odor. He ate a small amount alongside berries to quiet his hunger and gave the rest to Lin. This time, however, when Lin brought back his ration, Jiang Yang stared in shock at the raw, bloody meat. Raw meat? Did you pick up the wrong portion? No, Yang. Everyone in the tribe is eating raw meat tonight. Lin replied. Why? Jiang Yang frowned. Why skip roasted meat to eat raw flesh? Because we have no fire. We must trade with the tiger, your tribe for fire to roast our food. Wait a minute. Does that mean your tribe cannot make fire on your own? Jiang Yang stared at Lin in utter disbelief. He had assumed the serpent people fully mastered fire making. They roasted meat, lit campfires at night, and kept wild beasts away. Learning they could not start fire themselves stunned him. That is right. Only the shaman knows how to create fire. What is a shaman? Lin's eyes went wide. Her golden vertical pupils regarded Jiang Yang as if he were some strange creature. You have never heard of a shaman? Should I have? Jiang Yang shrugged. The shaman is the wisest person of the tribe. They start fires, heal the sick, teach hunting skills, and know countless things. Most importantly, they can communicate with the Earth Mother and guide the tribe toward prosperity. Even the chieftain obeys the shaman. Is that not amazing? That does sound impressive. Jiang Yang understood what a shaman represented. In this brutal, primitive world, every scrap of knowledge was priceless. Figures who mastered fire, starting and healing held immense status, further elevated by their role as divine messengers. Why have you never heard of shamans? Lin tilted her head, confused. To her, every person living within a tribe knew of shamans. Unless, a thought dawned on her, and her voice rose with excitement. Yang, is your modern society tribe very weak? Only weak tribes know nothing of shamans. Jiang Yang's mouth twitched. Weak? You could think of it that way. He chose not to argue or explain. Lin stubbornly believed modern society was merely another primitive tribe. No amount of explaining could change her mind for now. Bound by her era and ingrained worldview, a primitive person whose whole life revolved around survival could never fathom modern technology, the internet, airplanes, or artillery. Her misunderstanding was perfectly understandable. Hey, don't eat that raw meat. He spun around and saw Lin biting happily into the raw meat, blood smearing the corners of her mouth. Why should I not? Lin looked confused. Whenever our fire dies out, everyone eats like this. Raw meat does not taste as good as roasted meat, but if we do not eat, hunger will keep us awake. You should eat yours too. She held out his portion toward him. Jiang Yang refused to take it and gently pulled the meat away from her hands. You cannot safely eat raw meat. It may contain parasites. Parasites? What are those? Lin asked, confused by the unfamiliar word. They are tiny invisible worms living inside raw meat. Once you swallow the meat, these worms grow inside your body. They consume all the food you eat. Eventually you will waste away and starve to death. Ah, that sounds terrifying. It is. Jiang Yang pressed his point. Have you ever passed long worms when relieving yourself? How did you know that? Lin's eyes widened in horror. She waved her hands wildly, gesturing at their imagined length. I saw huge, long worms once. I was so scared I thought my intestines were coming out. Jiang Yang nodded. He turned away for a moment, then quickly refocused his attention. Lin, let's cook our meat over fire. Roast meat? But we have no fire. Food quickly pushed her previous fright from her mind. I know how to make fire. I just need your help. You can make fire? Truly. Shock flashed across her face. Her hands gripped his arms tightly. Pain shot through Jiang Yang, and he struggled to pull free. Lin, let go. You are hurting me. Sorry. She released her hold at once. Can you really create fire? Absolutely. Fetch a bone knife for me. We will make fire and roast this meat. Jiang Yang told Lin to bring the tool he needed. His library of civilizations contained dozens of fire-starting methods. Given available materials, friction, fire was the most practical option. His own weak muscles would never generate enough friction to produce embers, though. He would need Lin's strength. With the serpent girl's power, he was certain they would create sparks without trouble. Inside a hide, skin tent, an elderly serpent, folk elder wore a heavy frown. Every trade for fire cost the tribe dearly, requiring huge quantities of food gathered through the tribesfolk's hard labor. It pained him deeply. Still, they could not go without fire. Unlit nights invited ferocious beasts to raid the camp. Worse, cold weather was drawing near. Snow and freezing river water would arrive soon. Without fire, the tribe would freeze to death. What price has the tiger? Your tribe set for fire this time. 3 large moose. What? The elder stared at the tall serpent, woman in shock. Previously the highest demand had been 1 moose. Why has the price risen so sharply? The tiger. Your tribe has a new shaman. He announced that soon the price will rise further to 4 moose. Tomorrow I will lead the hunting party out to hunt moose non-stop, so we may trade for fire as soon as possible. Be careful. You are our chieftain. The serpent. People survive so long as you live. The elder felt both gratitude and sorrow for her. At 17, she had taken on leadership, devoting herself fully to saving their declining tribe. She charged fearlessly at the front of every hunt, and more than once the elder feared she would meet disaster. What else can I do? The chieftain's voice turned cold. If I hang back, our people will die. Am I meant to watch 15 tribesfolk perish? Silence fell over the tent. It was the unvarnished reality. Hunting was deadly work. Yang, will this really make fire? After Lin fetched the bone knife, Jiang Yang collected dry timber and carved a fireboard and friction stick. He tried demonstrating friction, fire starting himself first. Rubbing hard left blisters across his palms. The wood only darkened slightly, with no sparks. Not wanting to injure Lin's hands through harsh drilling, Jiang Yang switched to a groove, friction fire, starting method. It will work. Take this hard wooden strip and rub it quickly back and forth along the groove. Heat and sparks will form. All right, I trust you. Lin's eyes shone with resolve as she began rubbing. At first Jiang Yang could track the movement of her hands. Within seconds, her hands blurred into nothing but motion. She controlled her strength perfectly, keeping hot fine charcoal dust inside the groove without scattering it everywhere. In less than 2 minutes, smoke curled upward from within the groove. Smoke made Lin gasp excitedly. Yang, look. Smoke. It is working. Do not stop. Keep rubbing fast. We still have no sparks. Jiang Yang warned when her pace slackened in excitement. Lin immediately returned to full speed rubbing. Soon glowing embers appeared amid thick smoke. Jiang Yang called for her to stop, tipped the smoldering charcoal dust into prepared tinder, and blew gently. Lin held her breath, not daring to exhale too hard, terrified of ruining their chance at fire. Whoosh! A small flame flared brightly within the tinder bundle. Jiang Yang hurried outside the tent and set it down. He dared not keep open fire inside, where dry hay covering the floor would ignite the entire hide, skin dwelling. Dry grass fed the little flame. In moments, a bright blaze roared to life, chasing away darkness across the serpent, people camp, and illuminating the night sky. The instant fire bloomed, Lin threw her arms around Jiang Yang in delight. Yang, we made fire ourselves. Overcome with joy, she lifted him off the ground and spun him round and round. Her celebration left Jiang Yang thoroughly disoriented. By the time she set him down, the whole world seemed to spin. He staggered and sank onto the ground. When he finally snapped back to his senses, the sweet voice of the young girl who had alerted everyone rang out all across the serpent folk tribe. Our tribe has fire. The shout jolted the people of the tribe. They stepped out of their tents. At the sight of the towering flames, they all froze for a moment, then swarmed toward the fire source amid a hubbub of noise. In that instant, the tribe came alive with commotion. Look, it's fire. Didn't the chieftain say our tribal fire had gone out? I've no idea. Let's get some fire first to roast meat. Raw meat tastes terrible, right? But will that outsider share it? He's the one who started the fire, after all. Don't worry. Yang is easygoing. I'm sure he will share. The serpent folk chattered among themselves. Before long, every member of the tribe had gathered in front of Jiang Yang's hide tent. surrounding him, and the fire so tightly there was barely room to breathe. The atmosphere felt heavy and overwhelming. Sitting beside the bonfire, Jiang Yang swallowed hard. Right now he did not dare say a word. Being encircled by serpent, folk whose average height stood at 1.9 meters, countless snake-like eyes fixed intently upon him, would make anyone's heart race. He could not shake the feeling that at any moment these strong, fierce serpent folk might tear him apart with their bare hands. Fortunately, a young serpent folk boy quickly stepped forward and broke the awkward tension. Yang, can Dadane, Mom have some of your fire? I want roasted meat. The boy playfully clambered onto Jiang Yang's back, nuzzling against him cheerfully. Jiang Yang was just about to reply when a powerfully built serpent folk man hurried over, intending to pull the boy off his back. Hey Li, get down. That is very rude. It's all right, Uncle Xian. I like having Li around. Jiang Yang stood and shielded the boy on his back. Otherwise the mischievous child would surely get a severe scolding. Yang, this boy deserves discipline. Today he ran off into the forest all by himself. I wasn't playing. I went hunting. I'm going to become the mightiest warrior of the serpent folk. How dare you talk back? I'll teach you a lesson. This time Jiang Yang did not intervene and let the boy's father drag him away. It was genuinely dangerous for a child to wander into the forest alone. A stern talking to would teach him to be more careful. Yang, save me. Li struggled and shouted, trying to wriggle free from Xian's large hand. No matter how hard he fought, he could not break loose. In despair, he spotted a figure taller than any other tribesman. As soon as he saw her, he cried out urgently, Kai, Dad is going to punish the future greatest warrior of our serpent folk. Stop him. Kai merely glanced at him, then turned toward Xian. Do not harm him seriously. With the chieftain's order, Xian said nothing more. He carried his son away from the crowd to give him a firm, earnest lecture. Kai shifted her gaze to Jiang Yang. Will you share fire with my people? Jiang Yang looked at the serpent folk woman standing before him. She stood 2 meters tall, her raven, black hair cascading down her shoulders. Her features were striking. Her sharp eyebrows swept toward her temples, holding a mix of cool dignity, breathtaking beauty, unyielding pride, and quiet detachment. When her crimson vertical pupils swept over him, it felt as though cold frost washed over his bones, yet she was so beautiful it took one's breath away. Her simple high dress fit her frame perfectly, highlighting her strong, well-proportioned figure. Her slender waist looked delicate, yet bore the weight of the entire serpent folk tribe. She was like a wild rose born from untamed wilderness. No matter how many times he saw her, Jiang Yang thought Kai was stunningly magnificent. That wild, cool beauty was a one of a kind temperament forged within this primitive world of raw survival. Standing at 1.8 meters tall himself, Jiang Yang felt dwarfed in her presence. She carried immense presence, truly worthy of being called the strongest among the serpent folk. Kai noticed Jiang Yang staring blankly and repeated her cool question. Yang, may we have some fire? Logically speaking, fire that had appeared within the serpent folk tribe ought to belong to the tribe. Still, she felt she ought to ask for Jiang Yang's consent, because he was the one who had lit it. At the same time, she wanted Jiang Yang to stay with the tribe. This man knew how to make fire. He might well be an inheritor of shamanic knowledge from some other tribe. But why would someone like him leave his own people? She pushed those questions aside. What mattered most right now was finding some way to keep this man she had carried back from the forest at any cost. Of course, Jiang Yang said, looking out over the crowd. Everyone, come and take fire as you need. Truth be told, Jiang Yang felt deep gratitude toward Kai and the serpent folk. If Kai had not carried him out of the forest, he would long since have become prey for some wild beast. Ever since arriving at the tribe, the serpent folk had treated him warmly. They had not bullied him for being an outsider. Seeing that he had a frail build, they had assigned him the lightest work, gathering berries. Without their protection, he would have perished long ago inside this deadly primeval forest. Over these past few days he had seen the beasts that roamed these woods. Wild boars weighed 500 to 600 jin each. Giant moose reached 800 or 900 jin. Every creature here was an enlarged version of those from his modern world. Even flies were as big as human ring fingers, and their bites stung terribly. You have brought us fire, Yang. You are a benefactor of the serpent folk. May the Earth Mother bless you with good health. Accept our sincere obeisance. Accept our obeisance. The honest serpent folk bowed low before Jiang Yang. A modern-day man, Jiang Yang had never witnessed such a scene. He hurried forward, wanting to help them stand. Where he came from, having others bow to you was thought to bring misfortune. Before he could take more than a few steps, Kai caught hold of his wrist. He lifted his head and met her eyes. Yang, this is their most heartfelt way of giving thanks. You need not be alarmed. Jiang Yang stood and watched as the serpent folk bowed before him. The sight shook his modern, world soul, driving home the reality that he really had traveled to primitive times. He thought back to the resolution he had made up in the hills. To survive in this harsh, dangerous world, the serpent folk tribe was the best possible starting point. He needed to gain influence and a voice here, so that the tribe would listen to him. Only then could he survive properly. The tension faded from his face. Jiang Yang received this raw, genuine show of gratitude. Once the tribe's folk had dispersed, Kai wanted to ask Jiang Yang to stay with the serpent folk. Yet the words died on her lips. Her tribe was far too weak. She had nothing worthwhile to offer to persuade him to remain. Besides, Jiang Yang's own people would surely come looking for him. A man who could start fire was precious to any tribe, and he would likely return to them. These thoughts cast a faint look of sorrow across her cold features. Kai, give me several serpent folk tomorrow. I wish to teach them how to start fire. Jiang Yang's calm words hit Kai like a huge meteor crashing into a lake, stirring up towering waves of emotion. What did you say? I said I want to teach you to make fire. Do you not wish to learn? Jiang Yang looked at the cool serpent folk woman with a faint amused glint in his eyes. We do. Of course we wish to learn. I will send you several people, no? The whole tribe will learn from you. Is that all right? Kai grew so excited she could barely form coherent sentences. A rare look of hope appeared on her cold, beautiful face. Nothing mattered more to her than the prosperity of her tribe. If they mastered fire, starting, they would no longer need to barter for embers from other tribes, nor struggle endlessly to preserve their flame. They could simply focus on stockpiling food to get through the cold season. Watching the proud chieftain ask so carefully, Jiang Yang fought the urge to smile. He dared not laugh, afraid she might knock him senseless with one blow. That works. I will teach Lin first, and then she can teach everyone else. No sooner had he spoken, Lin stepped out from the hide tent carrying 2 chunks of raw meat. Spotting her older sister, she quickly set the meat down and stepped forward proudly. Sister, I managed to start the fire. Am I amazing? The young serpent folk girl puffed out her chest and lifted her serpent tail high, her face glowing with triumph. She was plainly begging for praise. But Kai knew her younger sister well. Lin was inclined to slack off. She poured cold water over her boast. Yang started that fire, not you. Huh? Yang, tell her. Tell her I helped get the fire going. The young serpent folk girl moved over and wrapped her arms around the seated Jiang Yang. Yang, please tell her I helped. Lin nuzzled against him, her voice soft and sweet, making Jiang Yang feel relaxed and at ease. He turned toward the cool-faced chieftain and recounted how they had lit the fire. In short, I only provided technical guidance. Lin really did put in the physical work to get the fire burning. There. See, sister? I'm amazing. Seeing her sister's triumphant look, Kai rolled her eyes helplessly. Very well. Our Lin is most impressive. Ha ha. Sister said I'm amazing. The young serpent folk girl ran off happily, going from person to person to repeat that her sister had praised her, as if proclaiming to the whole world she had finally earned her elder sister's approval. Yang, why are you smearing things all over the meat? Kai asked as she returned carrying firewood. Will it even taste good roasted like this? Jiang Yang looked toward the 2 sisters and smiled. These are spices I'm rubbing on. Marinating the meat like this will make it smell wonderful and get rid of the raw, fishy taste. What are spices? Lin asked, confused. They are these plants. Try rubbing some on your meat too. It will taste fantastic once roasted. Jiang Yang generously shared the spices he had gathered over recent days with the 2 sisters. In his mind, if he wanted to gain standing within the tribe, winning over their taste buds was a good place to start. As for how he knew these plants made good spices, he had his system ability to thank. His enhanced sight linked to a database of civilizational knowledge. Whenever his eyes swept over plants and animals of the forest, he automatically learned their traits and uses. Identifying spicy, fragrant, and aromatic herbs was trivial for him. You can keep those for yourself, Yang. To his surprise, Lin rejected his offer. She stepped backward with a look of clear distaste. She could not understand why Jiang Yang would coat perfectly good meat with crushed plants. Roasting meat like that would taste awful and might even give one's stomach trouble. She knew this from past personal experience. Seeing the young serpent folk girl turn up her nose, Jiang Yang said no more. He took back the spices, marinated chunks of meat, skewered them, and held them over the fire to roast. While waiting for the meat to cook, Jiang Yang chatted casually with the 2 serpent folk sisters. He learned about the tribe's present hardships and its former glory. The serpent folk had very few members now, only 16 in total. There was one elder, the former chieftain. Among the adults were 11 strong tribesfolk, 2 men and 9 women. 4 were young children. The tribe stood on the brink of extinction. As Kai had put it, every single tribesperson was precious, and they could afford no more deaths. Their present hardship stood in sharp contrast to their glorious past. Lin told Jiang Yang that long ago, the serpent folk had bin a mighty tribe numbering in the hundreds, ruling over more than 10 smaller clans. Then multiple allied tribes had risen up against them. Defeated in war, countless serpent folk perished. The old chieftain had led their parents into lion-tiger forest, where they struggled to survive. Sniff dash, Lin drew in a sharp breath. Rich, savory smoke from the roasting meat filled her nose. She tilted her head, following the scent until she leaned in close to the sizzling skewers of meat. A delighted sound escaped her. Wow, that smells incredible. She swallowed hard, wanting to reach for the skewers, but glanced back at Jiang Yang. It smells so good. May I have some? She was certain she had never smelled anything this delicious in her whole life. Seeing her lean forward, looking hopeful and pleading, Jiang Yang found the situation rather amusing. Only moments earlier she had looked utterly disgusted by his spices. Yang, please, can I have some? Lin wrapped her arms around him eagerly, afraid someone else might take the tasty food away. Kai stood nearby watching the scene, her crimson eyes thoughtful. Just one bite, please. When Jiang Yang still did not answer right away, Lin's sweet, pleading voice rang out again, and she hugged him a little tighter. Jiang Yang strained and pushed gently against her arms to create space to breathe. Let go, you're squeezing too hard. Lin misunderstood and hugged him more firmly, convinced he was refusing to share the roasted meat. Let go, Jiang Yang gasped. He struggled and finally managed to pry her arms loose, drawing in deep, ragged breaths. His face was bright red and sweat dotted his forehead as though he had just sprinted 100 meters. Lin paid no attention to his state. She held her arm where she had been pressed during the tight embrace and spoke first. Jiang Yang, why did you push me? Still catching his breath, Jiang Yang stared at her. You were squeezing me so tight I could barely breathe. I never said I would not give you meat. I was scared you would say no. Don't be angry with me. Seeing how flushed he was, Lin realized she had gone too far. I am not angry, Jiang Yang said. He let out a quiet sigh of relief. He resolved to keep a safer distance from the energetic girl from then on. Another such tight embrace could genuinely cause real discomfort. Really not angry? Really not. But you must never squeeze me like that again. He gave her a firm warning for his own safety. Okay, then can I have my meat? Wait until it finishes cooking. Yay, I knew you were the nicest, Yang. Hey, don't hug me again. I won't hug you so tightly this time. Kai watched the two of them joking around, a faint smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. Ha ha, slow down, the meat is very hot. Jiang Yang urged as he watched Lin gobble the steaming roasted meat. He then held out another skewer toward Kai. Here, try this. Tell me what you think of my cooking. Kai blinked in surprise, not expecting him to offer her food. The delicious aroma made her want to taste it badly, yet her pride as tribal chieftain stopped her from asking. You are offering this to me? Take it, Jiang Yang said, not wanting to waste time on polite back and forth. He pressed the skewer into her hand. He was starving after a long, tiring day. He blew on his own skewer and began eating hungrily. Hot, juicy meat flooded his taste buds with rich, spiced aroma. The marinade had removed all raw gamey flavor. Each chew tasted better than the last, and he could not stop eating. Tears nearly came to his eyes. After 2.5 days in this world, he was finally enjoying a proper, satisfying meal. Of course, it would be even better if they had salt. Still, considering their circumstances, this roasted meat felt like pure luxury. The moment the meat touched her tongue, Kai's crimson snake eyes lit up. She had never experienced such bold, spiced flavors before. She chewed faster and faster as the wonderful taste took hold of her senses. Inside her heart, her resolve to keep Jiang Yang in the tribe grew stronger. She had a strong hunch that fire, making, and delicious roasted meat were only tiny fragments of all the knowledge he possessed. He might well be a shaman from some great tribe. She could not guess why he had been found unconscious alone in the forest. What gave her that feeling? It was the casual ease in Jiang Yang's eyes. When he had offered to teach the tribe fire, starting, he had spoken with effortless nonchalance, just as he had casually rubbed herbs onto meat to make it taste better. To Kai, that sort of ease spoke of immense self-confidence born from great strength. It reminded her of herself. As the strongest of her people, she could easily defeat any challenger who sought to mate with her. Over time, she had grown indifferent to those challenges, regarding them with relaxed detachment. It was the attitude of someone powerful enough to know they could prevail no matter what stood against them. So she suspected fire, starting, and good cooking were trivial skills for Jiang Yang. She might be wrong, but she would seize every chance to make her tribe stronger, no matter how slim the hope. Lin finished one skewer and reached straight for another. She had pushed aside her own earlier portion of plain meat, just as she had rejected spices at first. Jiang Yang picked it up, cut it into small pieces, coated it with spices, and roasted it again, and did the same with Kai's leftover portion. After the satisfying feast, Jiang Yang lay down comfortably inside the hide tent to sleep. He thought briefly about the days ahead. Full and drowsy, his consciousness grew hazy. Before drifting off, he silently wished he would wake up back in modern society, then sank into deep slumber. Sister, do you enjoy being around Yang? Yang is the only person besides you who lets Lin eat until full. Naturally, I like staying with him. And you have seen for yourself how clever Yang is. He can start fire, and his roasted meat tastes amazing. Don't you like him too, sister? Inside the tent, the two serpent sisters lay side by side and talked. I like him, but he will leave the serpent folk tribe someday. Why? Has the tribe treated him badly? Use your head. Yang can make fire and is extremely clever. What do you think he most likely was back among his own people? What was he? Lin furrowed her brow, yet could not work it out. A shaman, or a shaman's apprentice. Kai tapped her younger sister lightly on the forehead. Baffled that Lin still had not seen the obvious, she wondered what her sister spent all her time thinking about. But Yang told me he has never heard of shamans, Lin insisted. He must have lied to you. He fears we will keep him here once we learn who he truly is. Yang would never lie to me. Silly little sister. How well do you truly know him? How long have we known him? He never lies. Stop saying such things about him. Lin grew upset. Very well, he never lies. Kai yielded, not wishing to start an argument. Since you are fond of being with Yang, I have a task for you. Stay close to him from now on. Obey whatever he says. Will you do that? Truly, when have I ever lied to you? Wonderful. Then I can enjoy delicious roasted meat every single day. The young serpent girl cheered, convinced her older sister was being wonderfully kind. She had no idea Kai was planning to tie her firmly to Jiang Yang. Kai's heart grew calmer seeing her sister so delighted. Her plan was selfish, yet she saw no other way. Jiang Yang's affection belonged to Lin. Had it been for herself, she would gladly have built a life with him. Her logic was plain. If Jiang Yang intended to leave, she would bind him to the tribe. By having him form a close bond with Lin, he would grow rooted among the serpent folk. Even if his kinsmen came for him later, he would not easily depart. The next dawn, mist hung over the forest. Sunlight filtered through haze, painting soft, glowing halos across the air. Jiang Yang stirred in his sleep. Something tickled his nose. He rubbed it and drifted off again. The tickling returned several times. Annoyed, he snapped awake, ready to scold whatever disturbed his rest. He was ready to fly off the handle. Then he saw Lin's sweet face. She held a wisp of dry grass, teasing his nose. Most of his irritation melted away. He caught her wrist and gently drew her toward him. Lin lurched forward in surprise. Both froze, faces inches apart. Their eyes met. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the quick pounding of two hearts. Lin grew flustered and tried to pull back. Jiang Yang held her gently, neither pulling away. Warm awkwardness wrapped around them. Jiang Yang, who had never been romantically involved with anyone, felt his heart race wildly. He stood there, stunned by the sudden closeness. Lin also felt flustered, her cheeks burning. Neither quite knew what to do. At that exact moment, someone pulled aside the tent's hide curtain. Everyone is waiting for you too. An exasperated voice preceded the visitor. Kai stepped inside. She saw the two sitting among scattered dry grass, their clothing disarranged. Taken aback, she instantly dropped the curtain. Carry on. She hurried away. Kai had only hoped Lin would spend more time with Jiang Yang. She had never imagined their bond would deepen so quickly. The interruption jolted both of them back to their senses. Lin turned away, flustered and confused, not knowing how to process what had just happened. Please go outside, she stammered. Jiang Yang understood how overwhelmed the 18-year-old serpent girl felt. He knew he ought not simply walk away. He picked up her discarded hide top, stepped behind her, and spoke softly. Lin, will you be my partner? I swear I will treat you well. Lin's face burned hot. Her mind went blank. She understood what those words meant. Her thoughts raced. He was physically not the strongest, yet he was intelligent. He knew how to start fires, cook wonderful roasted meat, and possessed endless knowledge she lacked. She wavered, uncertain how to reply. Seeing her silence, Jiang Yang feared she was rejecting him. He loosened his hold. Very well. I shall go outside. Sorrow colored his tone. He He turned to set down the hide garment. Before he could take more than a step, Lin grabbed his hand. Don't go. Her voice trembled, half embarrassed, half annoyed. She was upset he would say those words and then attempt to leave. You said you wanted me to be your partner, so why are you leaving? Her voice dwindled to a near whisper. Does that mean you accept? Joy lit Jiang Yang's eyes. He laid his hands lightly upon her shoulders. Lin nodded quickly. Yes, but you must keep making delicious roasted food for me as my punishment. I accept the terms. Jiang Yang pulled her into a warm embrace. Lin leaned against him, a happy smile spreading across her lips. The thought of losing him had filled her with sharp distress. She knew she wanted to stay beside him. Jiang Yang helped her fasten her hide clothing properly. Outside the tent, tribesfolk waited eagerly. Yang, you are finally here. We are all waiting to learn fire making. We waited an entire sunset. Please teach us properly this time. Once we master fire, we will no longer bow to the tiger. Dear tribe, I am sorry to have kept you waiting. Jiang Yang wore a bright, cheerful smile. Lin stood beside him, gazing at him with open admiration, happy pride shining on her face. This was her companion, clever, respected, and beloved by their people. Everyone, quiet down so I can begin. At his words, the serpent folk fell silent, watching expectantly. I have already shown Lin how to make fire. I will go through the steps once more in detail for her. Watch closely. Afterwards you may ask either of us questions. Jiang Yang picked up a bone knife and demonstrated the groove, friction fire, starting technique. He explained every step plainly. How to prepare tinder, select dry timber, carve the wooden groove. He applied the correct amount of pressure while rubbing. He skipped abstract scientific principles. The tribesfolk only needed clear, repeatable instructions. Lin learned fast. On her first attempt, she successfully sparked flame. Loud cheers erupted. To everyone's surprise, the reserved serpent woman also got fire on her very first try, merely by observing the demonstration and Lin's practice. Soon more tribesfolk managed to light their own fires. Smiles bloomed across every face. Their joy shattered when a serpent folk rushed over, panic written all over their features. Chieftain, Yuan is dying. That cannot be. She spoke to me only one sunset ago and seemed perfectly well. Yes, she was recovering and came out to bathe in sunlight. May the Great Earth Mother protect Yuan. Filled with alarm, the crowd hurried toward Yuan's tent behind Kai. Jiang Yang stood there bewildered. Noticing him, Lin tugged his hand and pulled him along. Come, let us go see Sister Yuan. Who is Yuan? Jiang Yang asked. He had learned many names since arriving, yet this one was unfamiliar. She is one of our people. She suffered grave injuries while hunting and has been resting inside her tent. It makes sense you have not met her. How badly hurt is she? A huge bear slashed her across the back. By the grace of the Earth Mother, her bleeding stopped. The giant bear I saw on my very first evening here. That is the one. Jiang Yang could scarcely believe it. The beast stood as tall as a rock mound. To survive such a mauling seemed extraordinary. He knew for certain he would not have lived through a single blow. They reached the tent. A crowd blocked the entrance. Stand aside. Let the elder chieftain see her. An aged voice boomed. People parted. Through the gap, Jiang Yang saw Yuan lying face down upon dry grass. Kai knelt beside her, examining her condition. Lin pulled Jiang Yang forward behind the old chieftain. No one stopped them. The tent felt cramped with so many inside. Kai meant to send extra observers away, yet held her tongue, seeing who had entered. Kai, how fares Yuan? Before Kai could reply, a faint, weak voice rose from the ground. Elder chieftain, I am all right. Save your strength. Do not speak, Kai said quickly. Her vertical scarlet eyes showed deep grief. The old chieftain hurried forward and placed a palm against Yuan's forehead. Burning heat met his skin. Sorrow clouded his ancient eyes. Again, severe fever brought on by wounds. Lin rushed to touch Yuan's forehead. Her face turned deathly pale. She sank down onto the grass, whispering in shock. How could this happen? Jiang Yang knelt at once to support her. Yang, when our people develop fever after bad wounds, they almost always die. I do not want Sister Yuan to pass away. Tears streamed down Lin's cheeks. There now, do not cry. I shall see what I can do to help her. Jiang Yang stroked her back gently. His words drew every eye toward him. Lin lifted her head instantly, hope replacing her grief. You know how to treat her? I know a little. I cannot promise anything if her condition is already too far gone. Even aided by his system, Jiang Yang refused false promises. The old chieftain grabbed his arm, hope blazing in his cloudy eyes. Child, can you save Yuan? Jiang Yang gently pulled free. I will do my best. If you need anything at all, tell me. Kai said. I shall. Jiang Yang pressed his palm to Yuan's forehead. Her skin burned fiercely. She had a very high fever. He leaned toward the delirious girl. Yuan, tell me honestly how you feel. I need to know to treat you. Though she barely recognized him, Yuan answered truthfully. I feel exhausted. My body has no strength. My back burns, and I can feel something moving there. Something moving? Jiang Yang glanced at her back, covered with wrapped hide. He asked Kai to help roll Yuan slightly and unwrap the dressing. The sight made Jiang Yang gag. The bare, claw wound was badly infected and rotting. Pus mixed with fresh blood and dead tissue. Maggots wriggled within the damaged flesh, exactly explaining Yuan's strange sensation of movement. Even Kai frowned at the horrid sight, and Lin stepped backward in fright. Recovering himself, Jiang Yang recalled treatments recorded within his knowledge base and gave quick orders. Kai, send someone for clean water, soft scraps of hide, and a well-sharpened bone knife. When supplies arrived, Jiang Yang told Yuan to bite down on a wooden branch to endure pain. Using the bone knife, he carefully scraped away maggots and dead rotting flesh. He lanced swollen abscesses to drain built-up fluid. He fought hard against nausea throughout the whole process. For more than half an hour Yuan endured in total silence, displaying extraordinary fortitude. Once wound, cleaning finished, Jiang Yang had Yuan moved to a fresh, clean tent. He told Lin to keep damp, cool hide pressed against Yuan's forehead to bring down her fever. Then he set off with several tribesfolk to gather medicinal plants. Yuan's fever stemmed directly from wound infection. Without anti-inflammatory herbs, her body might fail. Fortunately, the forest held abundant natural resources. Guided by his stored knowledge and direct observation, Jiang Yang located all necessary plants by late afternoon. He prepared 2 sets of herbs, one for drinking internally, another to apply externally to the wound. Bark from willow branches was boiled to make an infusion rich in salicylic acid to reduce inflammation and fever. For external wound ointment, he mixed plants known to fight infection and encourage tissue regrowth. Ground bone from large reptiles, plentiful within the tribe, served as extra medicinal material. Returning without delay, Jiang Yang prepared the medicine. He helped apply the wound poultice and made Yuan drink a full bamboo cup of willow bark brew. After giving Lin clear instructions to prevent further infection, he went to rest. Whether Yuan survived remained uncertain. The herbs worked for humans, and he hoped they would help serpent folk as well. Mindful of their larger physique, he had moderately increased dosage. All he could do was hope she would live through the night. Early next morning, Jiang Yang hurried straight to Yuan's tent to check on her condition. Stepping inside, he saw a tall, mature serpent woman standing there. Her broad chest rose and fell with calm breaths. Tight, wrapped hide around her waist highlighted her graceful, full figure. Every movement radiated quiet, mature charm. Jiang Yang quickly looked away, feeling awkward. He had noticed before that serpent women tended toward tall, robust, generously built physiques. He kept wondering how such remarkable, dignified people could emerge from a tribe with such simple living conditions. Eventually, he put it down to innate racial gifts. You must be Yang. Thank you for saving me. Don't mint. A rich, mellow female voice rang out. Jiang Yang had intended to reply politely, but before he could finish speaking, his head was pulled forward. A familiar scent of wild grass filled his nose. Recalling his earlier experience with Lin, Jiang Yang instantly understood what was happening. He was caught off guard by the close embrace. Still, he could not help noticing how warm and soft this one felt. Sister Yuan, time for your medicine. A bright, cheerful voice came from outside the tent. Jiang Yang's eyes flew wide open. Startled, he quickly pulled away from Yuan. He spotted her fallen leather top, picked it up, and helped her put it back on. Then he stepped back to keep a safe distance. He wore a solemn, upright expression as he faced the tent entrance. When the snake girl stepped inside, Jiang Yang greeted her with a warm smile and pulled her into his arms. So you were making medicine. I was wondering where you had gone. Taken aback by the sudden embrace, the young girl's cheeks flushed and her heart raced. Yang, Sister Yuan is still here. You shouldn't do this. I don't care. I missed you after one night apart. Those sincere words made the snake girl's face burn bright red. Her mind went blank. Yuan stared blankly at the scene, still struggling to process what had just taken place. Everything had happened so fast, as if something had occurred yet nothing had really happened at all. Watching Jiang Yang's behavior toward Lin, she understood why he had pulled away from her so hastily. Lin must be his partner. For the rest of the time, Jiang Yang maintained a careful distance from Yuan. Whenever Yuan moved even a little closer, he would step further back, behaving as though he feared Lin might misunderstand. This only spurred Yuan on. Yang, my back aches a little. Could you check it for me? Yuan raised her eyebrows at him, her tone playful. You have recovered very well. No need for me to examine you. With those words, Jiang Yang hurried out of the tent. He found the confident, forward manner of the mature snake woman rather overwhelming. She had nearly got him into trouble right in front of Len. Watching his hasty retreat, Yuan curled her lips into a faint smile. This man could start fires, cook delicious roasted meat, and treat injuries. He was truly interesting. What? You want to come with us on the hunt? Kai looked at Jiang Yang's slender build, clearly doubtful. I wish to travel alongside your hunting party. While you hunt, I will gather medicinal herbs for Yuan. Knowing she doubted his capabilities, Jiang Yang offered this alternative explanation. He genuinely needed more herbs. The antiseptic salve he had made the previous day was incomplete, and he had not collected enough plants in such a rush. That was only one reason, however. His main goal was to learn how the snake people conducted their hunts. After treating Yuan, Jiang Yang had learned hunting was the tribe's most dangerous activity. Hunters died regularly, one major reason why the snake tribe's population kept shrinking. Only 16 people remained. To Jiang Yang, these naturally strong snake folk were invaluable. He could not afford to let more of them die. Who would protect him? Who would help him with work? Who would help build a strong tribe? Without people, what good would gaining influence over the tribe be? Moreover, hunting supplied most of the tribe's food, essential for their survival. If he wanted to earn the snake people's genuine respect, he needed to prove himself on a hunt. Very well, but you must stay close to me at all times. Do not wander off. Kai thought it over and agreed. They were short-handed. She could not spare anyone to escort Jiang Yang herb, gathering alone, and she dared not let him go unaccompanied in case he ran away. Still, seeing how frail he looked, she feared he might fall prey to wild beasts. He knew how to start fires and heal wounds. The tribe needed him alive. Jiang Yang agreed without hesitation. He had no wish to get himself killed by wandering off. Soon the hunting party assembled. 5 members in total, 2 men and 3 women. The men were Shi Yin and Mu. The women were Yi, Shi Hua, and Chang Wei. All familiar faces Jiang Yang had seen around the tribe. Each stood a full head taller than him, dressed in simple leather kilts covering their private parts. Their hunting gear was basic, spears tipped with sharpened stone or bone points, and bone knives hung at their waists. Jiang Yang was not surprised by their equipment. He had seen it many times before. He had been impressed the first time he saw spears. Living constantly within the forest, it was natural their hunting tools would gradually improve. The design might also have been borrowed from neighboring tribes. Jiang Yang did not imagine he was the only clever person in this primitive world. Constrained only by their era, they would invent better tools as knowledge and experience accumulated, driving their society forward. When the group heard Jiang Yang intended to collect herbs to aid Yuan's recovery, every hunter volunteered personally to guard him. Yuan was a valued member of their hunting band. Well, liked by all. They had grieved, deeply fearing she would die, and were profoundly grateful to Jiang Yang for nursing her back toward health. They argued fiercely over who should protect him, nearly coming to blows. In the end, Kai asserted her authority and took the duty upon herself. No one dared oppose her. Jiang Yang witnessed firsthand the authority of a tribal chieftain. Her word commanded absolute obedience. Entering the thick woodland, Jiang Yang noticed the hunting party kept heading in one fixed direction. He asked the stern-faced Kai why. We are heading for our tribe's designated hunting grounds, Kai patiently replied. Can you hunt elsewhere? Sometimes, if game is spotted elsewhere, but we must never cross our tribal borders. To hunt or trespass on another tribe's land will spark conflict and war. How powerful are the other forest tribes? Jiang Yang pressed. If he planned to gain real authority among the snake folk, he needed to understand his neighbors, and no one knew them better than their chieftain Kai. At the mention of rival tribes, Kai's crimson snake pupiled eyes dimmed briefly. The lion-tiger forest originally held only the giant lion tribe and the tiger-ear tribe, which gave this forest its name. The antler tribe, fox-ear tribe, and our snake tribe migrated here later. The tiger-ear tribe has grown increasingly powerful and defeated the giant lion tribe. Now they have the largest population and dominate the forest. Next comes the seldom-seen antler tribe, then the fox-ear tribe, and finally, I understand. Noticing Kai's voice trail off, Jiang Yang did not press further. It made sense that the snake tribe was the weakest with so few members. He began mentally planning for the future. Seeing Jiang Yang frown, Kai feared he was considering abandoning their tribe and hurried to reassure him. When we compare power by population, yes. But every snake person is a born warrior. One of us can fight 10 foes. We would have no trouble defeating the fox, your tribe. Spare me your boasting. As the party reached a river, a crisp voice interrupted. Xian and the others immediately raised their spears, on guard. Across the water, fox, ear warriors lifted their own spears, ready for confrontation. Fox Susu, want to fight? Kai retorted angrily at her old rival. Very well, you win the argument. I come today with an important proposal. Susu quickly backed down from a fight. She knew Kai's great strength could badly injure her, and she had come seeking cooperation, not conflict. Privately, she resented Kai's boasting. Given their small numbers, the snake tribe would long ago have been defeated if the fox, ear tribe desired war. Speak quickly. Leave our territory if you have nothing to say. You. One of Susu's subordinates stepped forward angrily. Be quiet, Bai. Susu stopped him at once. Chieftain. Am I the chieftain, or are you? The male fox, man fell back. Susu then turned toward Kai with a calm smile. Both our tribes have lost our fire. I assume you have learned what price the tiger, ear tribe demands in exchange for fire. And Kai smiled smugly, thoroughly enjoying her rival's discomfort. Thinking of her tribe's plight, Susu took a deep breath to steady herself. Hunting 3 giant moose is far too difficult for either tribe alone. Attempting it would cost many lives. I propose our 2 tribes join forces to hunt 3 giant moose, so we may trade for fire. Afterwards we can divide the flame, giving both tribes fire once more. Kai smiled playfully. Why should we cooperate? Hunting large game is hard for your people, small-bodied and less strong. You can handle small prey, but large beasts bring heavy casualties. My snake, folk are natural strong hunters. 3 giant moose would pose little trouble for us. What benefit is there for us to ally with you? Susu remained calm, as though she had anticipated this response. My tribe has already hunted 1 giant moose. If we unite, we only need to capture 2 more. Saying this pained her. The kill had cost 3 of her people's lives and left 2 wounded. It explained why she had hurried to seek an alliance. Working together would make hunting far safer. 2 giant moose. Hand those over, and we will give you fire. Kai's crimson eyes lit up. She had considered demanding 3, but realized that would make agreement impossible. What? Susu stared in shock. You already possess fire? What do you think? Kai maintained her smug grin. You could not have traded for it so quickly. You could never hunt 3 moose in such a short time. Where did your fire come from? That is none of your concern. Will you accept the deal? What about several sacks of food as before? We can keep the same terms for future trades when either tribe loses fire. I insist on 2 giant moose. Kai refused outright. Now that her tribe knew how to create fire independently, she no longer needed reciprocal arrangements with the fox, ear tribe. Stockpiling food before the cold season was her priority. You intend to behave just like the tiger, ear tribe. Do not come begging to us when your fire dies. We shall not need to. Kai had no reason to compromise now, all thanks to bringing the unconscious Jiang Yang back to their camp. Jiang Yang tugged at Xian's sleeve. Who was that woman? He looked across at Susu. She had long flowing hair, golden fox ears, and a bushy, fluffy tail. Her delicate features and graceful figure stood out. She was about 169 centimeters tall, with long, well-proportioned limbs. Her natural charm drew every male's gaze. That is Susu, chieftain of the fox, ear tribe, and our chieftain's long-time rival, Xian explained. Susu. Jiang Yang repeated her name softly and stepped forward. Walking beside Kai, he placed a hand lightly on her arm and addressed Susu. 1 giant moose for fire. Kai's large frame stiffened, her face flushing bright red. Her first impulse was to strike him, yet she restrained herself, knowing how valuable he was to her tribe. The snake, folk behind them watched, stunned. In the past, anyone making overly familiar advances toward their chieftain had been severely beaten. Now Jiang Yang had acted casually toward her, yet she held back her fist. The 2 male snake, folk admired him enormously. Jiang Yang, stop this. We need 2 moose for fire. 1. Jiang Yang met her gaze firmly. Trust me, this is the wisest choice. They stared at one another for a moment before Kai relented. She turned back towards Susu, clearly displeased. 1 giant moose in return for fire. Take it or leave it. The snake, folk were astonished. Their chieftain was famously unyielding, and no one dared defy her without punishment. Today they witnessed something unthinkable. Even Susu was utterly confused. She knew Kai's stubborn character well. She had expected to bargain down from 2, not to see Kai voluntarily lower her opening demand. Could the snake tribe really have traded 3 moose to the tiger, ear tribe? That would explain Kai's high initial asking price. Do you accept? Jiang Yang pulled Susu out of her thoughts. Yes, but who exactly are you? Susu was curious how this outsider could persuade the formidable Kai to change her terms. My name is Jiang Yang. If you agree, bring the giant moose here before sunset. We will bring fire to complete the exchange. Susu, can he truly make this decision? Susu looked at Kai. He can. Jiang Yang, I remember you. Susu's bright eyes studied him. I am Susu, chieftain of the Fox Ear tribe. You are a most interesting man. So are you. If people in your tribe fall ill with fevers or suffer hunting injuries in future, you may seek my help for treatment. Enough of your chatter with that fox. Kai lifted Jiang Yang off the ground. Seeing Susu keep looking at him filled her with irritation. Remember, treatment will require. Say another word, and I will knock you senseless. Watching them depart, Susu sank into deep thought until her companion spoke. Something feels different about the snake tribe today. In what way? Susu asked. She shared that vague feeling but could not put it into words. The look in their eyes. Once they seemed without confidence or hope. Today they radiate confidence and bright hope, so strong you can feel it even from afar. Yes, Susu nodded. Speak plainly. Are you attracted to that fox, woman? That is slander. Do not make false accusations against me. Jiang Yang pointed an indignant finger at Kai. He could not believe her conclusion. One brief conversation hardly meant he was infatuated. He prided himself on being honorable. Slander? You could barely take your eyes off her. I was merely appreciating her appearance. One ought to notice beauty when it is present. Appreciation, my foot. If you keep staring at her, I shall tell Lin to scratch your eyes out. Wait, no. Jiang Yang jumped back in alarm as Kai's fingers moved toward his eyes. He tried to run, but she grabbed the back of his neck and lifted him like a small chicken, stopping just short of touching his face. Will you stop staring? I will. I promise. That is better. She set him down. Just as Jiang Yang thought he was free, Kai's iron, strong hands gripped his shoulders. Her crimson vertical pupils blazed as she fixed him with a sharp stare. Now explain to me, why insist on only one giant moose for fire? If you can't give me a proper explanation, you're definitely getting beaten today. Crack, crack. With that, Kai raised her other hand in front of Jiang Yang's face and slowly clenched it into a fist the size of a sandbag. Her knuckles popped one after another, a clear show of threat. Jiang Yang swallowed hard, his heart hammering. One punch from this icy, cold snake woman would probably kill him on the spot. All right. I'll talk. Just put your fist down, and let's talk calmly. Fine. Let's hear what you've got to say. Kai unclenched her fist. Jiang Yang rubbed his aching shoulder, silently cursing her for being far too rough. Still, he dared not utter a single complaint out loud. Trading for fire with one giant moose is a good deal for us. But I could demand two, and that crafty fox woman would still agree. Lady, we need to think long term. Am I old? Don't get hung up on that. Just listen to Ak. That hurts. The snake. Folk watching snickered as Kai landed two solid punches on Jiang Yang. This was the chieftain they knew. Cross her, and you got punched without warning. Their amusement died quickly when she shot them a frigid glare. What are you staring at? Don't you have work to do? We're busy. I just spotted fresh prey tracks. I'm going to check it out right now. Me too. Seeing Xian make a run for it. Mu and the other hunting party members made the same excuse and scattered. None of them wanted to get caught in the chieftain's bad mood. Am I old? The dreaded question came again. Fine. You're young. Stunningly beautiful. The most gorgeous of all. Jiang Yang held his throbbing chest, his voice thick with sarcasm toward the violent snake chieftain. That's better. Kai sensed something off about his tone, but she was eager to hear his reasoning for lowering their demands in the trade with the Fox Ear tribe. Speak, or I will hit you again. My reason for offering only one giant moose for fire is simple. I want to build good relations with the Fox Ear tribe. Ideally, we could return to our old trade terms. Hear me out first. For the snake, folk tribe to grow stronger, good ties with the Fox Ear tribe are essential. You yourself said the tiger Ear tribe is the most powerful in lion-tiger forest. What would we do if they attacked us one day? I would lead my people away from the forest to find a new home. But our tribe cannot survive such an upheaval. One misstep, and we could be wiped out. Jiang Yang's words fell heavy over Kai and the surrounding snake folk. Tribe migration was enormously dangerous. Settling in an unfamiliar place meant adapting to a whole new environment, filled with countless unknown hazards. With their small numbers, total annihilation was a very real possibility. That is why we must be on good terms with the Fox Ear tribe. If the Tiger Ear tribe invades, we can form an alliance. Even combined, we might not outnumber them, but they would have to think twice before attacking us. There is more. Our tribe's greatest shortage is people. We cannot gain huge numbers overnight. How can we grow without enough people? If we befriend the fox, ear tribe, we can offer fire and food in exchange for their labor. If we can convince some of them to join us, our tribe will expand rapidly. Then no one will dare bully us. No matter how you look at it, the fox, ear tribe is vital to us. Even if we master fire ourselves, without their friendship, we cannot thrive. We might even bring disaster down upon our heads. Kai, think about this. Why does the tiger, ear tribe allow smaller tribes to live inside lion-tiger forest? We trade fire with them and give them benefits. Kai answered without hesitation. She had understood this truth long ago as chieftain. Exactly. But what will happen if they learn we can make fire on our own? Seeing that the sharp-tongued snake woman understood the logic, Jiang Yang pressed his point. Kai's expression darkened at once. They might destroy our tribe. Yes, they absolutely would. To the tiger, ear tribe, we would be undermining their interests. Jiang Yang's reasoning struck Kai like a heavy hammer, forcing her to contemplate the tribe's future. She thought for a long time and slowly realized how sound his logic was. To make the snake, folk tribe strong, allying with the fox, ear tribe was their best option. No matter how much she disliked the scheming fox woman, their tiny population remained their fatal weakness. Jiang Yang left her to her thoughts and started gathering nearby medicinal herbs. Some truths could not be forced onto others. People had to reach conclusions on their own. Once she understood, everything else would follow. You are right. Gaining the friendship of the fox, ear tribe is important. Jiang Yang smiled in relief when he heard that. I'm glad you see. But even so, you must not grow too close to that fox woman. Very well. I won't get too close to her. Jiang Yang did not know what to say under the fierce glare of her crimson vertical pupils. They had been having a serious discussion, and somehow Susu the fox had come up again. The two walked deeper through dense woods and soon found Mu and the other hunters huddled around a bush. Curious, Jiang Yang stepped forward. What have you found? Yang, fresh wild boar tracks. We intend to follow them. Jiang Yang glanced down. Freshly turned earth, chewed up roots, and new hoof prints were clearly visible around the shrubbery. Judging by the signs and boar behavior, a boar really had been here. These snake folk possessed impressive hunting experience. The group followed the trail deep into the hunting grounds. Kai stayed constantly at Jiang Yang's side, never letting him out of sight. She would not even let him stop to gather herbs. Her eyes swept non-stop across every shadow, fully alert. She knew these woods well. The deeper you went, the deadlier they became. A massive, ferocious tiger lived here. They had once watched it leap out of tall grass, sink its teeth into a yak's neck, and kill it within seconds. If they met that beast, flight was their only hope. Chieftain, there is a huge boar ahead. Take Yang and find cover. We will deal with it. At Xian's shout, Jiang Yang looked ahead. A massive wild boar with sharp curved tusks stood there. Its black, bristly coat and estimated 500-pound frame exuded overwhelming menace. This was a true boar king. Worse still, it showed no fear of humans. It stood its ground, tusks pointed straight toward them. Kai hoisted Jiang Yang onto her back and scrambled swiftly up the nearest large tree. Jiang Yang expected her to sit beside him on a branch and watch the hunt unfold. Instead, the cold-hearted chieftain climbed straight back down. What are you doing? I'm going to help Xian and the others. A boar this big could seriously injure them. Be careful. If things go badly, lead everyone away quickly. Jiang Yang did not try to stop her. Her strength would greatly improve their chances. Stay in the tree, no matter what. With that warning, Kai grabbed her spear and ran toward the hunters. Before she could close the distance, the boar planted its hind legs and charged straight at Xian's party. In its eyes, these people had trespassed upon its lair. Mu, Changwei, and Xihua stood firmly, ready to hurl their spears. Xian and Yi darted sideways in opposite directions. As the boar drew near, the three hunters hurled their stone-tipped spears with all their strength, then scattered in separate directions. One spear missed completely. Another scraped across the boar's thick hide, barely breaking the skin. Hardly any harm to such a tough beast. The third spear buried its sharp tip deep into the boar's front shoulder. Agony ripped through the animal, and it let out a shrill, furious roar. Watching from the treetop, Jiang Yang was stunned. To drive a stone spearhead that deep required incredible strength. It's wounded. Forward, Xian roared. He charged the boar, spear held firmly in both hands, his serpentine tail coiling behind him. Fearless, burning with battle fever, he lunged toward the boar's soft underbelly. The boar spun violently. Xian's spear slid harmlessly along its skin. Momentum carried him crashing toward those deadly tusks. At the very last instant, he grabbed hold of the boar's tusks. Meanwhile, Yi, charging from the other flank without seeing Xian's peril, drove his spear into the boar's hind leg. Screaming in pain, the boar bolted forward, sending Xian flying. Xian! The hunters shouted and sprinted toward him. Xian rolled across the ground. When he lifted his head, his eyes widened. The enraged boar was bearing down fast. Escape was impossible. He jumped to his feet, bracing for combat, and roared. Come on, I'll take you down even if I die trying. A snake, folk warrior could die, but never show cowardice. Quit talking nonsense. Get out of the way. A split second before the boar crushed Xian, Kai darted forward, seized his tail, and hurled him safely aside. Without pausing to check on him, she charged the boar and drove her spear deep into its flank. The wounded beast thrashed free, blood pouring from the gash. It finally decided to flee, only to find Mu and the others blocking its escape route. The snake, folk closed in at once, stabbing with their spears. When the boar charged, 2 hunters braced their spears against its advance. The rest pushed their embedded spear shafts hard against its body. They moved in seamless coordination, as if they had practiced this hunt thousands of times. Even so, the 500-pound beast snapped 2 spear shafts before it finally collapsed, dead. Watching everything from the tree, Jiang Yang felt genuine admiration for the snake, folks' courage and wit. Their hunting style bordered on two-hand combat. To stand firm against such a monstrous boar took immense bravery. He would have run without hesitation. This hunt drove home just how dangerous hunting really was. Facing giant beasts in close quarters was inherently deadly. Seeing Xian get thrown through the air made his heart leap. Without Kai's quick intervention, Xian would have been gravely wounded at best. Changing their hunting methods was absolutely essential. Otherwise, sooner or later, he would be left with almost no tribesmen. As soon as he climbed down, Jiang Yang hurried over to Xian to check his injuries. He reached out to examine him, and Xian jumped back behind Mu, shielding himself with both hands, giving Jiang Yang a bewildered look. I am attracted to women. Every pair of eyes turned toward Jiang Yang. Kai's gaze burned especially sharp. Jiang Yang wanted to smack Xian over the head. He was only trying to check for injuries, and this man had jumped to such a ridiculous conclusion. Still, seeing Xian's muscular build, he held back his frustration. I'm also attracted to women. I was checking whether you were hurt, not making advances. Oh, I see. Xian scratched his head awkwardly and explained why he had escaped serious harm. He had grabbed onto the boar's tusks and landed on soft, loose soil. Pure luck. Still, it spoke volumes about the snake, folks' extraordinary physical toughness. Thrown 7 or 8 meters, yet he walked away unharmed. A human would have suffered terrible injuries even landing on soft dirt. Very well. Let us go. Kai told Jiang Yang it was time to leave. Mu and the other hunters lifted the dead boar and heaved it onto Xian's shoulders. Jiang Yang expected the weight to crush him, yet Xian bore the huge carcass effortlessly and started back toward camp. Gulp. Even having watched snake folk carry heavy game before, Jiang Yang was shocked all over again. How could any human, like being possess such strength? Do you always carry prey back like this? What is strange about that? Kai genuinely did not understand his surprise. Nothing. Reading his expression, a faint smile tugged at her lips. We snake folk are one of the strongest races. The Earth Mother blessed us with great strength. Carrying prey of this size is trivial for our warriors. Truly impressive. 500 pounds with barely any strain. When they reached the outer edge of hunting territory, Kai ordered Xian and Changwei to transport the boar back to camp. The rest would hunt smaller game nearby, while Jiang Yang continued gathering medicinal herbs. 2 hours later he had collected all required herbs, plus suitable substitutes for those he could not find. His progress was thanks entirely to his internal knowledge library. With one glance, he could read full information on every plant and animal around him, almost like an intelligent encyclopedia. He gathered extra herbs as well. In this survival-focused world, injuries were constant, and stockpiling wound medicine was wise. He also planned to teach tribesmen herb identification skills, assigning some people to specialize in gathering plants. The salves they made could treat their own people and could also be traded with other tribes. Turning toward the tall snake woman beside him, he voiced his idea. Kai, pick 2 quick-witted tribesmen when we get back. I want to teach them to recognize medicinal herbs. Teach them herbal knowledge? At first Kai stared blankly, then her crimson snake eyes went wide. She swallowed hard. Are you truly offering to teach our people herbal lore? The normally reserved chieftain was visibly nervous, afraid she had misheard. Knowing herbs meant making medicine to heal sickness, knowledge normally reserved only for shamans, who only passed it down to their personal successors. No shaman shared it freely. But Jiang Yang had already helped Yuan recover with his treatments, so Kai knew he was not boasting. Yes, what is wrong with that? Wonderful. I will find you learners right away. Overjoyed, Kai pulled Jiang Yang into a firm, warm embrace to show her gratitude. Surrounded by her warmth and the fresh scent of the wilderness, Jiang Yang was caught completely off guard. Before he could struggle away, he heard her soft voice close to his ear. Thank you, Jiang Yang. That gentle tone took him by surprise, and for a moment he forgot to pull free. When the tight embrace began making it hard to breathe, he tapped gently against her back. Kai snapped out of her excitement and immediately let go, spinning away with bright red cheeks. Don't misunderstand. I just got carried away by excitement. That is all. Her flustered words betrayed exactly how emotional she was. Jiang Yang shook his head helplessly at the proud, easily flustered snake. Chieftain. Just as he tried to shift to another topic, Kai grabbed him and sprinted dozens of meters in an instant. Why are you carrying me? Be quiet if you want to stay alive. Kai warned sharply. Jiang Yang fell silent. Something extremely dangerous must be nearby. Once safely out of harm's way, she set him down. Where they had stood moments earlier appeared several massive black creatures with long sharp horns, far bigger than the boar they had killed. Wild yaks. Jiang Yang blinked in shock. Weren't wild yaks supposed to live on high plateaus? What were they doing here? He felt deeply grateful for Kai's quick reaction. A charge from one of those bad-tempered beasts would have killed him instantly. Thank you, Kai. Remember this. Run as fast as you can whenever you spot yaks. Several of our warriors have died beneath their horns. Kai's eyes turned somber as painful memories surfaced. Jiang Yang nodded in complete agreement. Wild yaks were notoriously aggressive and would charge almost anything. Still, they were not invincible. Kai, would you like to learn how to hunt yaks? Give up that foolish idea at once. Kai rejected the thought without hesitation. To her this was reckless fantasy. The tribe had tried hunting yaks before and paid a terrible price. Horrific memories of tribesmen dying right in front of her remained burned into her mind. Very well. Then can I at least teach you improved hunting techniques to reduce the risk? Not wishing to reopen old wounds, Jiang Yang quickly rephrased his suggestion. Kai raised an eyebrow. You? Teach us how to hunt. What is wrong with that? Jiang Yang protested. I taught you to make fire. I can teach you herbal medicine. I can make delicious roasted meat. Why could I not teach better hunting skills? You have soft, delicate skin. Have you ever even been on a hunt? She brushed a finger against his bare forearm, a faint mocking smirk playing on her lips. Jiang Yang's temper flared. If he did not prove his worth now, she would never respect his ideas. Never mind whether I have hunted before. How about a wager? What bet? Kai remained haughty, amused by his outburst, yet curious. Part of her hoped this might give her leverage to make him stay permanently with the tribe. I bet I can show Xiyin and the others how to successfully hunt a yak with far less danger. If I win, you must listen to my instructions. Obey what I tell you to do. I give you my word. I will never ask you to do anything evil or anything harmful to the snake, folk tribe. You have my guarantee. Jiang Yang showed his true intentions. Afraid that the aloof snake woman would refuse the wager, he goaded her. Scared? If you're scared, don't take the bet. Drop that arrogant look of yours. Scared? Kai frowned and let out a cold huff, then laid out her terms directly. If you lose, you must stay in the snake people tribe forever. Even if your clansmen come for you later, you cannot leave. Agree to this wager, and I will bet. In Kai's eyes, Jiang Yang was bound to lose. Hunting wild yaks with ease was nothing more than a fantasy. If hunting yaks were simple, the snake, people would have hunted them long ago, instead of fleeing whenever they spotted the beasts. I accept the bet. But I need the hunting team. Give me 3 days starting tomorrow to teach new hunting techniques. To Jiang Yang, Kai's terms hardly counted as a wager at all. He had never intended to leave the snake people tribe. If he won the bet, the aloof snake woman would have to obey him. If even the chieftain listened to him, then the snake people. He grinned to himself. Kai sensed something off about Jiang Yang's ready agreement. Yet her pride would not let her back down. Besides, she believed she held an unbeatable hand. If she won, Jiang Yang would never be able to run away again. Should he try to flee, she would make sure he could not. The two struck their wager, each convinced they had gotten the better deal, both wearing smiles. Phew, chieftain, there is a tiger-eared clanswoman lying over there, covered in blood. Yi gasped as she reported what she had found. Kai immediately told Yi to lead them to the spot. When the three arrived, they saw a woman with white tiger ears atop her head and a white tiger tail sprouting from her lower spine lying on the ground. She looked utterly disheveled. Her hair was matted, clotted in places with dried blood. Aside from the fur skirt covering her modesty, Her body bore numerous gashes left by branches and sharp leaves. Seeing how dire her condition seemed, Jiang Yang stepped forward. He placed 2 fingers beneath the woman's nose. Feeling steady, regular breathing, he began examining her injuries. What he found surprised him. Kai frowned as she watched, tempted to stop some of his more thorough movements. Still, knowing he was checking over the injured woman, she held her tongue. After a full examination, Jiang Yang reached a conclusion. This tiger-eared woman was merely unconscious. Her most serious injury was a swollen lump on her left ankle. Jiang Yang activated his supernatural vision, seeing straight through skin and flesh. No bones were broken. It was only a bad sprain. Hey, wake up. Sure that her life was not in danger, Jiang Yang gently patted her blood-streaked cheek to rouse her. At his touch, the woman reacted in terror. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Her arms and legs flailed wildly. Several of her swipes landed across Jiang Yang's face as she fought against an unseen threat. Jiang Yang quickly sat astride her, pinning her wrists to the ground to hold her still. If she kept scratching, she would badly injure his face. Open your eyes and look. I am not here to hurt you. You are safe now. Safe. At Jiang Yang's loud shout, her struggles weakened. She opened her eyes wide, filled with raw fright. When she made out Jiang Yang's features, half her fear faded. Seeing she had calmed down, Jiang Yang warned her before releasing her. We saved you. Stop thrashing about. Not if you understand, and I will let go. She nodded rapidly. Jiang Yang released her and hastily drew back, wary of another outburst. She was surprisingly strong. It had taken all his strength to restrain her, and he had nearly lost his hold. He doubted he could hold her a second time. The tiger-eared woman sat up and studied the 3 people before her. She stared at Jiang Yang for a while, confused. Then her gaze fell on Kai and Yi, and she spoke tentatively. You are snake people? Yes. From your appearance, you must belong to the tiger-eared tribe. I am. Please do not send me back. That place is terrible. She begged Kai, her voice trembling with dread, as if her own tribe were a nightmare realm. Seeing her growing hysterical, Jiang Yang hurried to soothe her. We will not force you back. Calm down first. Let us tend to your wounds. Her stomach rumbled loudly before she could reply. Jiang Yang noticed her cracked, dry lips and turned toward Yi. Give her water, and bring my portion of roasted meat for her to eat. The snake people ate twice each day, at midday and evening. Hunting consumed massive energy, so no one skipped midday meals. Food had been prepared before the hunting party set out. Since he had done little physical work that morning, he gave his share to the injured woman. Yi obeyed at once. As soon as she grasped the water skin, the tiger-eared woman drank greedily, as though she had not tasted water in weeks. Once she had eaten and drunk her fill, Jiang Yang learned her name was Bai Ling. He pressed for information. Bai Ling, tell us what happened in the tiger-eared tribe. So many are dead. So many tribesfolk have perished. Her emotions flared once more. Jiang Yang quickly comforted her. Do not fear. The snake people will harm no one here. I too was rescued by them. Truly. Bai Ling glanced at the snake people sitting all around her. It is true. You spoke up at once. Jiang Yang lay unconscious, and we could not rouse him. We only knew he was alive because he still breathed. I saved him, Kai said, her tone softer than usual. You have my word we will not hurt you. Once your injuries heal, you are free to leave whenever you wish. If you choose to stay with us, you must work for your food. I also wish to understand what drove you to flee in such danger. Last night, my father led a group to fight against the shaman's followers. Countless tribesfolk died. They lost the battle, and my father fled with many of us. We got separated. People chased close behind us the whole time. I ran and ran, and then I woke up to find you here. Bai Ling lowered her guard and told her story. Why did they fight? Jiang Yang realized civil war had broken out within the tiger-eared tribe. Civil conflict was welcome news. He had worried that the powerful tiger-eared tribe might launch an attack at any moment. Now their strength was depleted, and they would wage no wars anytime soon. Moreover, cold season, the local winter, was drawing near. Every tribe would focus on gathering food to survive. The tiger-eared tribe was no exception. For the time being, they were all relatively safe. Still, Jiang Yang wondered what had sparked the internal strife. Bai Ling hesitated before answering. The new shaman covets women, especially wives belonging to other men. Using his sacred status, he seized many married women across the tribe. At first my father managed to calm the people. Then a few days ago, he took 5 more wives right from their husbands. The 5 men protested and were beaten to death on the spot. After that, fear spread across the whole tribe. Many people begged my father to kill the shaman. As chieftain, my father could not stand by and watch their home be destroyed. so he rose to oppose him. He is a vile man. He deserves to die, Kai cried out indignantly. The other snake, people voiced their agreement. He deserves death. How horrible. Yet their anger faded quickly, for they had not witnessed these horrors firsthand. Soon their attention shifted to the wager between Kai and Jiang Yang. All eyes turned toward him. Jiang Yang, you are sure to lose. Yaks are ferocious beasts. They charge anyone who draws near. We tried hunting them once. Many of our people died. Silence fell over the snake. People as painful memories resurfaced. Seeing their low morale, Jiang Yang spoke firmly to inspire them. I know you all believe yaks cannot be defeated. But with the hunting methods I will teach you, you can bring them down safely. If you learn well, no more lives need be lost on hunts. His words hit like a boulder crashing into still water. Everyone fell speechless. Even Bai Ling gaped in surprise. The snake. People knew full well how dangerous yaks were, every bit as deadly as tigers. Once 30 of their warriors had set out to hunt one single yak. 5 were trampled or gored to death on the spot. 4 more died later from their wounds. 9 lives lost in total. After that disaster, the tribe fled whenever they spotted yaks. Now Jiang Yang claimed simple techniques would make yak hunting easy. No one wanted to believe it. Anyone who had seen an enraged yak knew how devastating its sharp horns could be. One solid strike meant grievous injury or death. They would rather hunt 10 giant moose than face one yak. Yet all the snake, people clung to his promise. No more deaths on hunts. If that could really be achieved, they were desperate to learn. The snake, people's population had dwindled for generations because so many fine warriors perished hunting wild game. Yi was the most stirred. She stepped forward and seized Jiang Yang's hands. If we learn your ways, will hunts truly stop costing lives? Of course. When have I ever lied to you? I promised to teach you to make fire, and I delivered. I treated you on, and you have seen her steady improvement. Jiang Yang made his case. He needed the snake, people to trust him, so he could pass down hunting knowledge and gain greater influence within the tribe. Some might think his ambition selfish, but this was the reality of primitive survival. To live comfortably, he needed loyal followers. The declining snake, people tribe was the perfect opportunity. The others thought back. Jiang Yang had never broken his word. He had brought fire and healing. Perhaps he really possessed powerful new hunting skills. Ye's resolve strengthened. I want to learn. I do not want any more of our people to die. Others spoke up one after another. Me too. Please teach us. Hope shone in every pair of eyes. Their tribe could afford no further losses. Even a slim chance was worth trying. They trusted Jiang Yang. Bai Ling called out as well. May I learn too? She knew very little about Jiang Yang, but seeing everyone else eager to study, she assumed he possessed extraordinary hunting wisdom. In her mind, he must be their shaman. He understood fire and healing. Shamans in her own tribe guarded their knowledge closely and only taught selected heirs. This man was different, willing to share openly. He inspired far more respect than her own cruel shaman. If she mastered his techniques, she could rejoin her father and earn admiration from all her people. She might even become a tribal hero. You may learn, but you must join the snake, people tribe first, Jiang Yang answered with a warm smile. What? Join the snake, people tribe? I cannot. Once my foot heals, I must find my father. Bai Ling looked confused. Do you know where your father is? I certainly. She caught herself at once. I do not. It was pitch black that night. I have no idea which way they fled. Her gaze darted about nervously. Jiang Yang said nothing, yet he could tell. Bai Ling most likely knew where the tiger ear refugees had gone. Is that so? That makes learning difficult, Jiang Yang said, feigning thoughtful hesitation. Then his eyes brightened as he turned toward the disappointed young woman. I have an idea. What idea? Hope flared in Bai Ling once more. It is simple. Join our tribe temporarily to train alongside Yi and the others. Once you have learned the skills or decide you wish to leave, you may depart freely. Kai frowned deeply. Could anyone just join and leave the tribe whenever they pleased? Is that truly allowed? Bai Ling could hardly believe her ears. In every tribe she knew, only the chieftain could expel members. No tribesman was permitted to abandon their home. Desertion was punished by death. Jiang Yang grasped Kai's hand, ignoring her sharp glare, and gave a faint, knowing grin. Kai, you still need me to teach your people to recognize medicinal herbs, do you not? You. Kai wanted to snap at him, yet she relied on his knowledge of herbs. Reluctantly, she turned toward Bai Ling. Very well. There you go. The chieftain has agreed. All right, I will join temporarily. But remember, I am here only to learn yak hunting skills. When I choose to leave, you must not bar my way. Jiang Yang wore an innocent, looking smile. We will not stop you. He inwardly thought, she would not get away so easily. He hoped to draw in Bai Ling and all the tiger ear refugees. Absorbing them would rapidly strengthen the snake people tribe. After Jiang Yang finished dressing Bai Ling's wounds, the group set off back to complete their fire trading agreement with the fox ear tribe. When they reached the riverbank, they found Fox Su Su already waiting with her clansmen. A dead giant moose lay beside them. Fox Su Su brightened the moment she spotted Jiang Yang's party. She hurried forward to greet them. When she saw Yi carrying bark, wrapped, smoldering fire embers, relief washed over her face. The snake people truly possessed fire. A heavy weight lifted from her heart. If they could preserve the fire, her tribe would survive the harsh cold season. When warm season arrived and supplies grew abundant, the price for fire would fall. Take your fire and be gone. Kai snapped. She felt irritated watching Jiang Yang glance at Fox Su Su. She resolved to keep a closer watch over him back at camp. Fox Su Su ignored her old rival. She turned to Jiang Yang. You are an interesting man. Would you consider coming over to the fox, your tribe? Should you join us? Many women of our tribe would welcome you. Would that include you? It would. Fox Su Su's alluring eyes locked firmly onto Jiang Yang. Kai's face darkened completely. She grabbed Jiang Yang firmly by the nape of his neck. A chill ran all through his body. No thank you. My place is with the snake people tribe. This is my home, and I will never leave. Only then did Kai loosen her grip. Tell me honestly. Fox Su Su pressed on, undeterred, stepping close. Do you truly mean that? She lightly touched his chest and gave him a playful look. Jiang Yang's heart raced. Kai quickly stepped in front of Jiang Yang to shield him. Enough of your tricks. Take your fire and leave, she warned. Jiang Yang will never abandon the snake people tribe. Give up on that thought. Oh, Fox Su Su peered past Kai toward Jiang Yang. Go. Leave now, or I will fight you. Kai flew into open fury. Seeing she had truly angered Kai, Fox Su Su laughed and led her people away. Her curiosity toward Jiang Yang had only grown. The proud snake woman cared so deeply for an outsider. This man was far from ordinary. If she could out-compete him, it would probably infuriate the big serpent. At the thought of driving the great serpent mad, her eyes sparkled and a faint smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. Is the fox ear tribe far from here? On their way back to the tribe, Jiang Yang grew bored and asked the question out of curiosity. A sharp, icy glare shot toward him at once. You wish to leave the serpent folk tribe? No, that is absolutely not what I want. Caught beneath Kai's menacing stare, Jiang Yang quickly backed down to keep himself safe. If you have no such thought, why ask? Very well, I won't bring it up again. Seeing the cold look on the stern serpent woman's face, Jiang Yang decided not to provoke her and changed the subject. When we draw near the tribe, let ye come with me to gather some things. No, tell me what you seek, and I will send others to fetch it. Kai refused outright. In her mind, Jiang Yang was already plotting to run away. She could not agree to his request. If she gave permission, he might trick Yi into telling him where the fox ear tribe lay and then flee. You don't know what I need to find. We have lived here for ages. What could possibly be unknown to us? Kai shot back confidently. Realizing Kai feared he would run away, Jiang Yang smiled at her. Rest assured, you saved my life. I will not abandon the serpent folk tribe. Do not lie to me. Just now you kept staring at others' legs, as if you wanted to rush off. How can you claim you have no wish to leave? Say another word, and I shall bind you within the tribe forever. Kai grew agitated. Jiang Yang did not know what else to say. Was honesty really met with disbelief in this world? Kai, I truly have no intention of running away. Come with me instead. If you see me trying to flee, you may strike me down on the spot. Afraid she would refuse, Jiang Yang spoke firmly. The things I intend to find are critical for our wager, and they will help our whole tribe grow stronger. Very well, I will go with you. Persuaded by his solemn tone, Kai gave in reluctantly. She agreed only because of his last statement. Without it, nothing would have convinced her. To make her tribe stronger was her highest priority, and she was willing to take even the slimmest chance. Soon the two left the returning hunting party and headed deep into the woods in search of what Jiang Yang needed. Watching Jiang Yang scan his surroundings, Kai asked curiously, What exactly are you looking for? I'm looking for ash trees. I plan to craft several longbows from their wood. What is an ash tree? Why use it for longbows? And what even is a longbow? Stop. If you keep asking, you will never finish. Jiang Yang cut off her stream of questions. Noticing her clenched fist, he offered a simple explanation. You will know an ash tree when you see one. Ashwood possesses outstanding elasticity and toughness and rarely snaps, which makes it perfect for longbows. Also, we should make our spear shafts from ashwood too. Spears will not break so easily. A longbow is an extremely powerful weapon. It can hit prey easily from over 100 paces away. Can it truly do that? Doubt showed plainly on Kai's face. Though the serpent folk had no legs, they had watched other races walk and understood how far 100 paces was. Even their strongest warriors could seldom hit prey reliably by throwing spears or stones at that distance. Success happened only by pure luck. If such a weapon existed and was given to serpent folk warriors, they would be nearly invincible. But could such a weapon really exist? If so, it must be a divine gift from the Earth Mother. Absolutely. Jiang Yang sounded confident. 100 paces was a conservative estimate. Serpent folk possessed immense strength. They could draw heavy, weight bows and shoot arrows 200 to 300 meters without difficulty. With bows and their natural power, they would dominate these forests. Combined with the traps he planned to teach them, hunting wild yaks would become effortless. Before long, they stood before a tall, straight tree. Its branches grew upright. Its broad leaves were pinnate with serrated edges. After confirming its identity, Jiang Yang turned toward Kai. This is the ash tree. Remember it. We will use its wood for our spears and bows from now on. Is it really as good as you say? Kai remained skeptical. Of course. Once properly dried, its elasticity and toughness increase many times over. Jiang Yang answered with full conviction. Ash had been the traditional material for bows and spear shafts in ancient times. What better timber could there be? Reassured by his confidence, Kai said no more. She pulled out her bone knife and climbed to cut straight branches. Though sharp, the bone knife made slow work of the wood. It took her more than an hour to gather all the ash wood Jiang Yang required. Next, Jiang Yang found a Korean pine, slit its bark, and collected pine resin. Pine resin served as natural glue for arrow making. Mixed with charcoal powder, melted over fire, and smeared onto arrowheads bound with fine hemp cord, it hardened quickly and locked arrowheads firmly in place. By the time they finished, dusk was near, and they set off back toward camp. Before entering the settlement, a figure rushed straight toward Jiang Yang. Yang, I was so worried about you. I would have gone searching for you had you stayed away any longer. Lin threw herself into his arms and poured out her anxiety. She had been distraught ever since learning Jiang Yang had gone out with the hunting group. She could neither sit still nor enjoy her roasted meat, consumed by fear that he might meet harm. Warmth spread through Jiang Yang as he held the girl in his arms. He had not expected her to worry so deeply and wait faithfully for his return. To be cherished like this made him feel that life in this primitive world was not so bad after all. At least someone cared whether he came home safely. Jiang Yang looked down at Lin. I'm fine. How long have you been waiting here? Not long. Lin lifted her face toward him, heart pounding fast. Her cheeks flushed bright red, and she turned her head away, overcome with shyness. Her embarrassment only grew as Yuan teased her. Do not believe her. She has been waiting here since before sunset, craning her neck constantly toward the forest. Without me holding her back, she would have run into the woods to look for you long ago. Is that true? Jiang Yang glanced toward the darkening sky. She had waited more than an hour. Waiting was always hard, and he pitted all the time she had spent fretting. Do not listen to Sister Yuan. Lin tried to protest, but Jiang Yang leaned in and kissed her. Reminded that others stood nearby, Lin pulled away at once, burning with embarrassment. How could Yang do such a thing in front of others? Still, a faint trace of longing lingered inside her. People are watching. We shouldn't. Jiang Yang kissed her again, captivated by her crimson cheeks. You are mine. I may kiss you whenever I wish. Come, I will prepare nice roasted meat for you tonight. As the pair walked into the camp, a faint smile appeared on Kai's lips. Foolish fox. Jiang Yang would never leave the serpent folk tribe. Yet a strange hollow feeling settled inside her heart. Yuan watched them go, her eyes glinting with curiosity. Yuan, how is your wound healing so quickly? Night fell. After the tribe finished their meal and returned to their tents to rest, Jiang Yang went to Yuan's shelter to change her dressings. Lin stood close by, so the bold, alluring woman dared make no improper moves. When Jiang Yang uncovered the wound across Yuan's back, he was genuinely surprised. Most of the lacerations inflicted by the bear had crusted over with dark, red scabs. Only a small, badly infected area remained unhealed. He had applied the crude herbal dressing only the previous afternoon. By his estimate, such progress ought to take 2 or 3 days at minimum. Could his homemade wound ointment be that potent? But it was only a rough, unfinished mixture. He had not gathered all required ingredients, nor ground them into fine powder. He had simply crushed and blended herbs before laying them over the injury. It certainly helped, yet it should never produce such rapid recovery. Yang, The serpent folk are among the strongest races of the Great Wasteland. Our bodies mend faster than most others. Wounds that stop bleeding and do not break bone are not grave. Normally, they heal fully within 7 sun cycles, provided we stay warm in sunlight. Yuan explained gently. That fast? Jiang Yang was astonished. Do your people recover swiftly from almost any injury? Not exactly. Only a lucky few heal completely. Many others develop fever and perish mid-recovery. Their bodies possessed great regenerative power, yet most died from complications before wounds closed. Without Jiang Yang's intervention, Yuan would have suffered the same fate as countless tribesfolk before her. Jiang Yang understood now. Serpent folk died not because their bodies could not heal, but because they lacked proper wound care and succumbed to infection. Even so, the speed of their natural recovery amazed him. Evidently, other races also possessed impressive bodily resilience. Such extraordinary physical gifts allowed all these beast folk peoples to survive in a world ruled by giant beasts. Yang, thank you for saving my life. Yuan looked back toward him with sincere gratitude. You need not thank me. Jiang Yang pulled himself from his thoughts. Your fever comes from wound infection. Untreated, it will take your life. What is wound infection? Lin asked curiously. Yuan also looked on in confusion. As he reapplied herbal dressings, Jiang Yang gave them a simple explanation. Infection happens when tiny organisms multiply inside open wounds and cause fever. You can picture these organisms as microscopic bugs stuck to injuries. They are smaller than dust, invisible to the naked eye. Those little creatures sound terrible. Lin's expression turned fierce. Jiang Yang smiled. Yuan asked the practical question. Is there any way to kill these invisible bugs? Of course. After stopping bleeding, clean wounds with clean water, then apply herbal dressings like these. Yang is so wise to know so many healing plants. Yuan praised him warmly. Naturally, pleased by the compliment, Jiang Yang knelt to fasten the hide wrapping around her bandages. At that moment, Yuan playfully reached out toward him. Oh, what strength you have, Yang. Her tone was soft and suggestive. Jiang Yang tensed, wanting to stop her teasing, yet Lin stood watching right behind them. He dared not react openly. Take your hand away. I need to tie this hide securely. Go ahead. I am not stopping you. Yuan smiled mischievously. Jiang Yang grew irritated. He wanted to swat her hand away, yet feared hurting her by accident. He endured the awkward moment and finished dressing the wound with great difficulty. Once he stood up, Lin noticed his odd posture. Yang, why are you bending over? Are you hurt? No. My legs fell asleep from squatting too long. Look after Yuan. I am going back to rest. With that, he hurried away. Watching him rush awkwardly out of the tent, Yuan smiled to herself. An entertaining young man. She murmured softly and turned her gaze toward Lin. Back inside his own hide tent, Jiang Yang tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Thoughts of Yuan's mischievous teasing kept replaying in his mind. He resolved never again to enter Yuan's tent alone. His heart still raced recalling the close call. Lin could so easily have misunderstood what she saw. Gradually his excitement faded. Drowsiness began to creep over him. Rustle dash. Just as he was about to drift off, he heard soft scraping sounds. Something was drawing near the tent. Cold wind slipped through the fabric. He jolted awake at once, fearing wild beasts had broken in. Before he could sit upright, a dark figure threw him onto the bed. He felt soft warmth against him. Who is it? Jiang Yang cried out in surprise. It is me. He recognized Lin's clear voice. Lin, why are you not asleep? What are you doing here? Yang, I wish to build a future with you. Jiang Yang was completely caught off guard. He had hoped to deepen their bond slowly and let things progress naturally. He never expected Lin to speak her heart so directly. When he gave no immediate reply, Lin's voice trembled as though she might cry. Do you think I am ugly? Of course not. Jiang Yang hurried to reassure her. Then why will you not choose me? Her question was earnest and passionate. Moved by her sincere feelings, Jiang Yang wrapped an arm gently around her slender serpent waist. Do you truly mean what you say? Yes. You are clever and capable. I want to stay by your side. Caught up in the moment, Jiang Yang kissed her lips. Their affection grew deeper as they embraced. The cool scales of her serpent tail brushed against him, grounding him in the reality of her unique nature. A cry escaped into the night air. Kai, whose tent stood closest to Jiang Yang's, woke immediately. She assumed a tribesfolk was being attacked by beasts. As she listened more closely, her face burned. Those noises held intimacy, and the voice sounded horribly familiar. It was her younger sister, coming from Jiang Yang's tent. She had deliberately camped nearby to stop Jiang Yang sneaking away in the night. Now she heard clear proof the two had grown close. Confusion and restlessness stirred inside her as the soft sounds drifted on through the long hours of darkness. The next morning, dawn broke. Jiang Yang opened his eyes. Lin lay asleep beside him, strands of hair falling messily across her forehead. He lifted his hand to brush her hair aside, only for his wrist to be seized at once. Lin's eyes flew open, watching him warily. What mischief are you planning now? What mischief could I possibly do to my own woman? Jiang Yang grinned and drew her close, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. Lin blushed deeply. You are nothing but trouble. My mouth still feels strange. Really? I thought you enjoyed it. You dash. Lin flushed scarlet, remembering the tender moments of the night before. How shameless he could be. And you bit me too. You cannot deny that. I will admit that. I was only imagining our future children would never go hungry. Ridiculous. Lin pouted softly. I still feel sore because of you. Seeing her hurt, dejected look, Jiang Yang hurried to soothe her. That was my fault. Let me kiss it better. He gave her a light kiss. Lin smiled shyly. Should we spend more time together again tonight? Jiang Yang was taken aback. Had she grown fond of being close? He knew much about human intimacy, yet the unique physiology of serpent folk still surprised him. Lin had never warned him beforehand, which confused him greatly. He once began to doubt whether the god-tier talent bestowed by the system was actually reliable. I don't think this is a good idea. It'll take a toll on your physical condition. Jiang Yang was filled with a deep sense of guilt. He had never imagined such an awkward mishap would happen right from the start. Is it that you look down on me? Not in the slightest. Then tonight. Fine, I'll go along with it. A bright smile tugged at her lips. Jiang Yang readily agreed. Accepting such a reasonable request was only the right thing to do. Shortly afterward, the two cleaned up their surroundings and stepped out of the hideout covered in animal hides. As soon as Lin emerged from the tent, she swished her serpentine tail and hurried to burn the blood-stained dry grass scattered on the ground. Watching her dash off so briskly, Jiang Yang wore a relieved smile. Truly a formidable serpent girl. She had been active all night, yet showed no signs of fatigue whatsoever. You're finally up? A resentful voice cut through the air. Jiang Yang turned toward the sound without the slightest wariness, and let out a frightened yelp the instant he laid eyes on the speaker. A ghost. He stumbled backward in alarm, staring straight into a pair of crimson eyes ringed with heavy dark circles. His first panic thought was that he had overexerted his vitality overnight, and was now being haunted by some malicious spirit. After scrambling several steps back to get a clear view, he realized the figure leaning down to meet his gaze was Kai. Irritation welled up inside him immediately. Why on earth would you sneak up like that first thing in the morning to scare me half to death? Are you itching for a fight? Kai puffed out her chest and glared furiously at Jiang Yang, itching to land a solid blow to his head. How dare he blame her for startling him? If their commotion hadn't kept her awake the entire night, she wouldn't look this worn out and haggard. The mere memory of the racket from last night stoked her anger further. All right, let's set the bickering aside for important matters. Seeing Kai raise her fist the size of a sandbag, Jiang Yang immediately backed down. Confused about what he could have done to anger this cold serpent warrior, she resorted to threatening physical violence at the drop of a hat for no obvious reason. Kai calmed her temper and took the offered opportunity to speak. The hunting squad is waiting for you to share your hunting techniques. Already this early? Quit dawdling and come with me right now. Kai grabbed Jiang Yang by the wrist and dragged him toward the gathering spot for the hunting team. I only promised you 3 days to finish this work. We need to stockpile enough food before the bitter cold season descends upon the wilderness. 3 days is more than enough. Remember our wager. Once I succeed, you have to follow my requests obediently. We'll cross that bridge if you actually manage to win. A faint blush spread rapidly across Kai's cheeks at the mention of their bet. She couldn't help but wonder what demands Jiang Yang might make if he won, specifically whether he would ask her to become his partner. She was torn over how she ought to respond to such a scenario. Her mind drifted back to the noises coming from her sister's quarters the night before. At first, the sounds resembled cries of pain, compelling her to rush over several times, convinced Jiang Yang was mistreating Lin. But every time she steeled herself to intervene, softer sounds of comfort drifted out instead. What confused her most was that Lin had even called out in obvious delight throughout the ordeal. She could not wrap her head around the situation. The activity sounded agonizing, yet Lin appeared to thoroughly enjoy every moment of it. Could it really have been that pleasant? She also found herself questioning how Jiang Yang had maintained his stamina for such a long stretch of time with his relatively lean build. They soon reached the open central grounds of the camp, where 5 members of the hunting squad and a tiger-eared girl sat perched on boulders waiting for them. Bai Ling, how is your leg injury healing? Spotting the tiger, eared girl sitting apart. Zhang Yang hurried over to check on her wound. "You're incredible, Yang." Bai Ling flashed her sharp, cute fangs in a grin. "The medicinal paste leaves a warm, tingling sensation on my leg, and I can walk normally now. It seems the recovery is going smoothly. Let me examine the injury once more." Zhang Yang knelt down to inspect the wound, and his gaze inadvertently drifted toward her hide skirt, leaving him momentarily stunned. He was caught off guard by the unobstructed sight before him. This tiger-eared girl had an exceptionally pure, delicate appearance. "Yang, look here." Bai Ling remained oblivious to his distraction, stretching her injured leg out toward him. When she noticed his vacant stare, she nudged his chest lightly with her foot. I'm looking. Zhang Yang studied the girl grinning up at him with her bared fangs. Now cleansed of dried blood and grime, Bai Ling's facial features shone with striking beauty. Much like Lin, she possessed an endearing, lovely look. Where Lin's charm stemmed from gentle innocence and naive sweetness, Bai Ling carried a bright, lively prettiness shaped by her unique life experiences and harsh upbringing. Zhang Yang paid little mind to those differences, choosing instead to appreciate each of their distinct charms. Bai Ling had an inherently approachable aura, highlighted especially by her fluffy tiger ears and swaying tiger tail that invited gentle petting. "The swelling has gone down significantly. Your leg should fully heal by sunset," Zhang Yang stated after unwrapping the medicinal hide wrapping. He based his assessment on the natural accelerated healing physiology of the beastfolk tribes. After securing the bandage, he reached out and stroked her soft white tiger ears gently. "I'll begin teaching everyone how to hunt wild yaks shortly. Pay close attention and memorize every step. Do you understand?" Bai Ling let out a soft, contented hum at the comforting touch. With no time to spare, Zhang Yang addressed the assembled group directly. He expected some measure of skepticism after his impassioned speech the previous day, and resolved to prove his methods tangible with real, practical skills to dispel all doubts. "I will now demonstrate effective yak hunting tactics, but first I will lay down a rule. All personnel must strictly follow my instructions during this training. Anyone who disobeys orders will have their daily food ration revoked for 1 day." Zhang Yang's announcement stirred murmurs and unrest among the hunters. Ignoring their pushback, he turned to Kai for support. Authority from the tribe's leader was essential to compel the serpent folk to comply with his guidance. Kai instantly grasped his intention and spoke firmly to the crowd. "For these 3 days, Zhang Yang's orders carry the same weight as my own." Her authoritative declaration immediately silenced the restless crowd. Seizing command of the gathering, Zhang Yang outlined the core principles of yak hunting to orient the group. His plan was straightforward: craft functional bows and arrows, train the serpent folk in marksmanship, and deploy concealed spike-lined pits to trap the powerful wild yaks. Even aggressive yaks rarely launch coordinated group assaults, and once they fell into pits lined with sharpened wooden stakes piercing their vulnerable underbellies, not even the strongest specimens could escape entrapment. "Yang, are bows and arrows truly as powerful as you claim?" Xian, a burly serpent man sharpening stone arrowheads per Zhang Yang's directions, asked with honest curiosity. "You'll see their effectiveness once we finish constructing the first set." Instead of explaining further, Zhang Yang set about bending bough wood and preparing bowstrings. He had hoped to use tough cowhide cord for the strings, but none was available within the serpent tribe's supplies. He tested various animal hides to source the most resilient, fracture-resistant strips for bowstrings instead. Constructing the bow frame itself was simple. Bend waxwood branches and fasten the tension hide cord into a basic primitive bow. The far more demanding work lay in crafting functional arrows, a process requiring meticulous precision at every stage. First, workers had to grind sharp flint into proper arrowheads. Next, straight wooden shafts were notched to secure the arrowheads with pine resin adhesive. Finally, stabilizing fletching had to be fixed to the rear of each shaft. Arrow fletching was critical to guiding airflow and maintaining a straight flight path. Fast, accurate, lethal shots were entirely dependent on well-made fletching. Every step demanded extreme care. Careless workmanship would only produce unusable, defective arrows. After a full morning of collective labor, the group had finished 6 bow frames, yet only 3 serviceable arrows. Zhang Yang had ruined 2 shafts himself while perfecting the process before succeeding with the first functional arrows. The arrows made by the other serpent folk all suffered from crooked, loose arrowheads or poorly attached fletching, rendering every single one unfit for use. Zhang Yang remained undiscouraged, knowing their craftsmanship would improve steadily with repeated practice and familiarity. "Can you show us how to fire the bows now, Yang?" "Yes," We're all eager to witness it. Stop keeping us in suspense. The hunter's mounting anticipation heightened the atmosphere. Everyone was desperate to witness how these ranged weapons could bring down prey from 100 paces away. Even Kai walked forward and held out a bow toward Jiang Yang, her usual composure fading into obvious eagerness. Teach me how to use this weapon at once. Jiang Yang fought back a smile at her haughty tone alongside the crowd's anxious gazes. This was the treatment a transmigrator deserved, the center of eager attention, well worth stoking their curiosity to this degree. He steeled himself to begin the demonstration. What are you grinning about? Teach me right now, or I will not hesitate to strike you. Kai snapped at his amused expression as he stood holding the bow. She seethed at being mocked, yet an innate intuition told her the bow was an immensely valuable weapon, making Jiang Yang far too important to harm. She insisted her restraint stemmed purely from practical necessity, not personal favor toward the young man. Jiang Yang welcomed her impatience. A skilled warrior like Kai was the ideal candidate to test the weapon and display its full destructive potential. He walked her through the core fundamentals of archery, guiding her through nocking the arrow, drawing the bowstring, aiming, and releasing the shot. Once she demonstrated a solid grasp of the basic motions, he directed her to practice a full firing stance. Kai gripped the bow, replicated Jiang Yang's movements to draw the string and nock the arrow, stabilized her posture, and asked for feedback. Is my stance correct? Your posture needs minor adjustments to optimize accuracy. Let me correct your form for you. Shift your hips upward slightly. Too far. Lower a little more. Hold that position perfectly. Straighten your chest, and engage your core to steady your aim. Your lower back also requires proper alignment. Are these adjustments truly necessary for standard archery form? Kai initially believed Jiang Yang was making genuine corrections to her shooting posture, but she soon grew suspicious of his wandering hands as he adjusted her body positioning, suspecting he was taking advantage of the training session for inappropriate contact. This is the standardized, scientifically verified archery stance, Jiang Yang replied with complete composure. He considered himself an upright man who never engaged in sneaky, underhanded behavior. Any physical contact was carried out openly for instructional purposes only. Keep your spine straight without leaning backward, and fix your gaze firmly on your target. After refining her posture, Jiang Yang was satisfied with her stable, proper shooting form, admiring the balanced, functional stance she had assumed. May I take the shot now? Fire toward that large tree roughly 100 meters away. Jiang Yang gestured toward the distant tree trunk. Every onlooker held their breath as Kai drew the bow into a taut crescent shape and lined up her shot, anxious to verify the weapon's claimed power. Jiang Yang had no doubts regarding the bow's destructive force. His only concern was Kai snapping the wooden frame, having underestimated the superhuman physical strength of serpent folk. He had barely managed to draw the bow halfway using his full physical effort earlier, yet Kai pulled the string into a full draw with effortless ease, the waxwood only holding intact thanks to its exceptional natural toughness. Twang! A sharp hum rippled through the air as the arrow surged forward with tremendous force, slicing through open space before slamming into the tree trunk several 100 feet away. Thunk! The arrow buried itself deep within the wood fibers of the trunk. The crowd stared in stunned silence for a heartbeat before erupting into loud cheers. The chieftain hit the target dead center. We can hear how deep the arrow embedded itself. This weapon carries incredible force. Let's go inspect how far the arrowhead pierced the timber. Several tribesmen sprinted toward the tree to witness the remarkable result firsthand. Kai remained standing where she was, staring down at the bow in her hands with a pensive expression. She was convinced this tool was a sacred artifact blessed by the Earth Mother Goddess. As the one who had loosed the shot, she could clearly sense the devastating impact of that single arrow. A direct hit on a human target would result in a fatal piercing wound without fail. Jiang Yang's claim of effortlessly hunting game from 100 paces was not an overstatement. In truth, the effective range of the bow extended even farther. She felt certain that mastering archery would elevate the serpent tribe's overall combat capability to unprecedented heights. Kai turned toward Jiang Yang with obvious excitement shining in her eyes. Did the Earth Mother Goddess grant you the knowledge to craft these bows and arrows? This is wisdom accumulated by ancient human ancestors, not divine gifts from any goddess, Jiang Yang replied with a dismissive eye roll. He was baffled that such a simple hunting tool was being attributed to supernatural forces. He wondered what fantastical explanations she would invent for the other technologies he planned to introduce later. Seeing his self-assured demeanor, Kai surprisingly held back her usual irritation and pressed another question. Tell me honestly, Which powerful tribe do you originate from? A community capable of preserving Bao, making knowledge must be tremendously strong. It is immensely powerful, home to over 1.4 billion people in total. Just how large is 1.4 billion people? Jiang Yang resisted the urge to rub his temples and patiently simplified the concept for her understanding. Picture the most formidable tiger-eared tribe in this entire forest. Before internal conflict fractured their community, they numbered roughly 100 members. If every single person from my homeland spat in unison, the combined volume would drown their entire settlement. That is the scale of 1.4 billion people. The vivid analogy gave Kai a tangible frame of reference for such an unfathomable population size. Does such a mighty tribe truly exist in this world? It absolutely does. Place your trust in me, and I will provide the serpent tribe with weapons far more advanced than bows and arrows. I will resolve your struggles with food, clothing, shelter, and travel, free your people from fear of the frigid winters, and transform the serpent folk into the most dominant tribe across the entire wilderness. Do you mean every word of this? Kai grabbed hold of his wrist tightly. Overcome with emotion, elevating her tribe back to its former glory had always been her deepest aspiration, and Jiang Yang's words resonated perfectly with her greatest wish. In this moment, she felt she had finally met someone who fully understood her burdens and goals. Every word is truthful, but only on the condition that you abide by my guidance. A subtle smirk tugged at Jiang Yang's lips as he watched the normally stoic chieftain grow visibly impassioned. He now understood why leaders often laid out grand visions. Simple promises were enough to rally even this cold, guarded warrior to devote herself wholeheartedly to the tribe's progress under his leadership. Kai quickly masked her excitement and reverted to her usual icy bearing. Humph. I will only follow your orders if you win our wager fair and square. She turned and walked away immediately after speaking, leaving Jiang Yang shaking his head with a faint laugh at her stubborn pride. Her old-fashioned tsundere attitude clashed with the direct openness growing commonplace in their interactions, yet he found this dynamic endlessly engaging and enjoyable. After watching her fluid serpentine figure retreat into the distance, Jiang Yang walked over to examine the arrow's penetration depth into the tree. Kai possessed outstanding natural warrior talent. He had only hoped her first shot would reach the target zone to validate the bow's effective range, yet she had scored a precise hit, her immense strength driving the full stone arrowhead deep into solid timber. The destructive power of a single arrow was genuinely formidable. Yang, the bow is amazing. Can I have one of these weapons? Having witnessed the bow's power firsthand, Bai Ling hurried over to make her request, already imagining herself striking down distant prey with her own bow in hand. Of course you can have one. You're the kindest person to me. Bai Ling wrapped both arms around his forearm and shook it gently in delight. Jiang Yang stroked her soft tiger ears while tending to the roasting meat over the campfire. Earning her loyalty through kindness and comfort was the most reliable way to integrate her fully into the tribe alongside her clan members. A soft, contented sound escaped Bai Ling's throat as she leaned into the gentle petting, her nose twitching at the rich, savory aroma drifting from the spit, roasted meat. She stared longingly at the cooking meat with wide, pleading eyes. The meat smells wonderful. May I have a portion? Lin let out a sharp huff of disapproval from the side. Cook your own food if you're hungry. Yang is preparing this roast only for me. Lin had already felt a flicker of jealousy watching Jiang Yang grow close with the tiger-eared girl earlier, telling herself it was natural for an outstanding, intelligent man to attract the attention of other females. But she refused to share the specially prepared roasted meat she had been looking forward to eating. Seeing the two beast folk beginning to argue over the food, Jiang Yang quickly stepped in to mediate the tension. Lin, Bai Ling only recently joined our tribe. Sharing a bit of roasted meat is no great trouble. He shot her a reassuring smile to ease her irritation. I will make it up to you later tonight. Lin's cheeks flushed bright red instantly at his words. Completely unconcerned about the surrounding onlookers, Jiang Yang wrapped an arm gently around her waist and pressed a light kiss to her cheek. Lin's heart raced wildly, overwhelmed with embarrassment at his public affection. Her sister, Yuan, and multiple other tribesmen were all watching the interaction unfold. The display of open fondness filled her with overwhelming bashfulness. Certain he had calmed Lin's irritation, Jiang Yang lifted the steaming roasted meat and handed it to Bai Ling. Eat as much as you want. I will roast more if you finish this portion quickly. Once your leg injury heals fully, you will need to contribute work to the tribe in return for meals. Understood? I understand completely, Bai Ling replied eagerly. She bit into the tender meat the moment she received it, the spicy, savory flavor bursting across her taste buds and making her eyes light up with delight. She swore this was the most delicious meal she had ever tasted, free of any gamey aftertaste, carrying a unique tingling spiciness she had never experienced before. She devoured the large skewer of meat with impressive speed, and Jiang Yang urged her to slow down despite the high temperature of the fresh roast. He was surprised to find both serpent folk and tiger folk possessed high heat tolerance to consume scalding food without discomfort. He continued preparing servings of roasted meat for the tiger-eared girl, knowing securing her loyalty through satisfying her appetite would bind her firmly to the tribe. He was never one to show favoritism. However, he fed Lin comfortably in his embrace, while also distributing portions to Kai and Yuan to ensure everyone received their share of the hot meal. Once the group finished eating and rested briefly, everyone dispersed to complete their assigned daily chores. Some fetched fresh water from the stream, others gathered wild berries, each person laboring tirelessly to secure the tribe's survival through the harsh wilderness months ahead. Jiang Yang departed for the deep forest alongside the hunting squad. Their objective was not immediate hunting, but to observe and document the natural behavioral patterns of wild yaks. Possessing functional bows and arrows was insufficient to bring down 1,000-pound wild yaks. Effective traps had to be designed around the yak's natural movement paths, feeding habits, and drinking routines to guarantee successful hunts. "Why are we hiding here watching the yaks graze, Yang?" Xian voiced the confusion shared by every hunter concealed alongside Jiang Yang within the forest foliage. The group had assumed they would receive direct hunting instruction upon entering the woods, not simply observe wild yaks feeding peacefully. Witnessing the bow's overwhelming power earlier had filled them with complete faith in Jiang Yang's hunting strategies, making their current passive surveillance difficult to comprehend. Even Kai frowned and waited patiently for a full explanation. Noticing the collective confusion on their faces, Jiang Yang elaborated patiently for the entire squad. "We are studying the behavioral ecology of wild yaks. This means recording their preferred forage, regular drinking times, fixed travel routes to water sources, and all other consistent movement patterns they follow across this territory." "What good does knowing this do?" Rocksnake failed to follow Jiang Yang's explanation. "It's extremely useful." Jiang Yang went on to elaborate. "Think about it. If we figure out what wild yaks prefer to eat, we can use that for bait to lure them into traps for hunting." "Yang, what even is a trap?" Before Jiang Yang could finish his explanation, Yi cut in with a question. "A trap is a contrivance built to snare or capture prey. Take the wild boar tracks you spotted yesterday as an example. Your usual hunting method is to track the boar down along its trail and kill it head-on. Hunting with traps works differently. Dig a deep pit along the regular path the boar travels. Line the pit bottom with plenty of sharpened wooden stakes. Then cover the pit opening with dead leaves. That makes a dedicated trap for wild boars. When the boar walks along this route later on, it will step onto the cover and fall into the pit. The sharp stakes will pierce its body to kill it instantly. Even if the boar survives the fall, it will be trapped with no way to climb out. We only need to check the traps periodically and finish off the trapped boar to secure our catch." Jiang Yang laid out every detail clearly. There was nothing more he could do if they still failed to understand. Thankfully, the serpent folk wore pensive expressions once he finished speaking, and Kai was the first to voice a question. "What if the boar stops using this path? Wouldn't the trap become completely useless then?" Jiang Yang was pleased to hear Kai's question and see the thoughtful looks across the serpent folk group. It proved at the very least that they could comprehend his words and grasp the basic concept of traps. "That's a sharp question, Kai. But let me ask you something in return. Why do we always take the same trail back to the tribe instead of wandering along other routes?" "It's simple. We're just used to walking this way. Why have you grown accustomed to this specific path?" Jiang Yang pressed further. Kai did not rush to answer this time, and all the serpent folk fell deep into thought. Yet none of them could come up with a reasonable answer, not even Kai herself. After a long, drawn silence, Jiang Yang smiled and gave them the answer. "The reason is plain. This path is safe for you to travel." "Safe?" Kai muttered the word with a furrowed brow, and a sudden realization flickered across her mind. Her scarlet eyes widened sharply as she stared at Jiang Yang. "So wild boars stick to the same paths for safety too, and end up stumbling into our traps." "Smart girl." Jiang Yang gave Kai a thumbs up. "Wait a moment, let me sort this out first." Kai held up a hand to stop Jiang Yang from speaking more. She sorted through her jumbled thoughts and all of Jiang Yang's explanations from start to finish, and stumbled upon a staggering truth. If they hunted wild yaks following Jiang Yang's theories, the plan stood an extremely high chance of success. Kai studied Jiang Yang with a complicated gaze. Can we really hunt wild yaks with ease using these methods? She had never believed Jiang Yang was capable of taking down wild yaks, yet the logic he presented left her with little room for doubt. Hunting via pit traps was genuinely effortless. All they needed to do was guide wild yaks into the sunken pits, where a brutal death awaited the beasts. More than that, pit traps would completely overhaul the traditional hunting methods of the serpent folk tribe. In the old days, tribesmen had to engage in brutal close quarters combat against wild animals. With pit traps, hunters only needed to study prey habits and set traps along animal trails to reap a steady harvest of game. This new method would drastically reduce violent clashes between tribesfolk and beasts, cutting down hunting casualties significantly. What made it even more impactful was the ability to set multiple pit traps at once, greatly boosting overall hunting efficiency. Jiang Yang had essentially gifted their tribe an entirely new system of hunting. Jiang Yang wore a playful grin. If you're worried about losing our bet, call the whole wager off with a friendly gesture towards me. Don't be ridiculous. Kai shot him a cold glare. This is nothing but theory for now. Prove it works first before making such claims. On the first day of the bet, Jiang Yang taught the serpent folk every skill required for hunting wild yaks. He personally walked them through each step of digging stake-lined hunting pits. To speed up excavation work, Jiang Yang crafted 2 types of digging tools for the tribe, wooden spades and bone spades. He also stayed up late into the night teaching the serpent folk how to weave wicker scoops for moving excavated soil efficiently. Given the tight timeline, the scoops were not woven from fine bamboo strips. Jiang Yang opted for tough vines as the raw material instead. The finished scoops had an odd, irregular shape, but Jiang Yang paid no mind to their appearance. Their only purpose was to carry large volumes of soil. Weaving these tools demanded decent craftsmanship, and he was already satisfied he could replicate the weaving techniques recorded in his civilization archive on his first try. Even so, the serpent folk were utterly amazed, marveling at Jiang Yang's ingenuity and growing increasingly respectful and admiring toward him. A seed of reverence had quietly taken root within their hearts, unbeknownst to themselves. They only knew Jiang Yang possessed wisdom far beyond their own, and following his instructions was the wisest course of action. Even the normally cold, haughty Kai voiced far fewer objections to Jiang Yang's plans. She stood quietly behind him, observing everything unfold, curious to see how things would turn out once the 3 days of their bet came to an end. As the old saying goes, sharpening your axe will not delay your job of cutting wood. The hunting party had to undergo rigorous training to pull off a successful wild yak hunt. On the second day of the bet, Jiang Yang implemented strict training regimens and dropped all casual banter with the serpent folk. Each morning, the hunting squad practiced archery and trap construction. After midday meals, they headed into the wilderness to observe and document wild yak behavioral patterns. When night fell, they gathered around the campfire to rehearse the full workflow for hunting wild yaks. Jiang Yang oversaw every single phase of training personally, refusing to move forward until the group met his strict standards. Anyone who failed the drills was made to redo them entirely. His strictness was well justified. A full-grown wild yak weighing 500 kilograms was an extremely dangerous quarry to hunt. A single mistake could leave tribesmen wounded at best or dead at worst. He could not afford to treat matters involving human lives lightly. Every person deserved the right to live safely, and that included these serpent folk. The serpent folk were placing their lives in his hands by following him on this dangerous yak hunt, trusting his guidance completely. That responsibility meant he was accountable for their safety and survival. Hence the rigorous, uncompromising training. He could not afford reckless mistakes, nor could he bear to witness any casualties on his watch. Fortunately, none of the serpent folk complained about the harsh training standards. If anything, everyone trained with bright, eager smiles. They understood the knowledge Jiang Yang imparted was invaluable, a chance to grow stronger as hunters. Mastering these skills would let them hunt wild yaks in the future and secure far more food supplies for the entire tribe. Over these 2 days, they studied with total dedication, memorizing every key detail, firmly committing the methods for crafting bows, wooden and bone spades, and vine scoops to memory. The 3rd day of the bet arrived. Jiang Yang led the hunting party out once more to study wild yak daily routines, just as they had the previous day. Shortly after entering the forest, Kai suddenly grabbed his arm. Everyone get on high alert. Something is heading straight for us. Hearing her warning, Rock Snake and the other serpent folk quickly moved to stand before the pair, gripping their spears and scanning the surrounding woods warily. Before long, Fox Susu stepped into their field of vision, followed closely by 4 members of her tribe. Upon recognizing the fox-eared woman, Kai spoke in a frigid tone. You troublesome fox, what brings you here? I've come looking for Jiangyang. Is it true you can treat injuries sustained during hunts? Fox Susu cut straight to her purpose, with no interest in trading insults with her long-time rival tribe. Stepping out from behind the serpent folk upon hearing his name called, Jiangyang faced the fox woman. I can administer treatment, but I need to be clear up front. I cannot guarantee a cure for critically severe wounds. Jiangyang stuck to his usual practice of laying out disclaimers before agreeing to any work. Kai seethed inwardly at the sight. The moment Fox Susu showed up asking for help, this man rushed forward eagerly with an overly cheerful expression on his face. Your treatment ability is all that matters. Come with me right now. Fox Susu reached out to tug Jiangyang away without further negotiation, consumed solely by the urgent need to save her injured tribesfolk. Hold on a minute, my medical aid isn't free of charge. Jiangyang easily dodged her outstretched hand. Fox Susu was undeniably attractive, yet that was no reason for her to receive his services for nothing. 2 sacks of dried meat per patient, payable regardless of whether the treatment succeeds or fails. Additionally, 5 children from your tribe must be handed over to us as hostages before I accompany you to treat your wounded tribesmen. Susu, we cannot hand our children over as hostages. One male fox tribesman blurted out his protest before Fox Susu could reply, with the rest of the fox folk echoing his objection immediately. Children were the foundation upon which every tribe survived and thrived. They could never be used as bargaining chips or hostages. Faced with unified pushback from her people, Fox Susu was thrown into indecision. If anything happened to the children while they were held hostage, she would bear full responsibility for the tragedy. Jiangyang stood to the side, unaffected by their internal debate. A wise person never places themselves in unnecessary peril, and he had no intention of leaving his safety entirely in the hands of the fox tribe. Kai frowned sharply at Jiangyang's initial payment demands, thinking his asking price was far too low. Her expression softened slightly once she heard his requirement for child hostages. However, at the very least, the man was not foolish enough to neglect his own personal safety. As someone who prioritized practical benefits, Jiangyang had wanted to negotiate a higher payment, yet maintaining positive ties with the fox tribe was strategically vital for his long-term plans. When Fox Susu hesitated for too long to give a definitive answer, Jiangyang pressed her for a quick decision. If you cannot accept these terms, leave at once. I have important work to attend to. We agree. Fox Susu locked eyes with Jiangyang. But you must guarantee the children's complete safety. If any harm comes to them, the fox tribe will not rest until we settle scores with your serpent tribe. Consider it done. With the biggest obstacle resolved, both sides quickly agreed to exchange the hostages by the nearby riverbank. Jiangyang took several serpent tribesmen along with the hunting party to head for the river meeting point. Once they arrived, he ordered Rocksnake to lead the hunting team back to continue observing wild yak activity, while he waited alongside the remaining serpent folk for the fox tribe to deliver the child hostages. He planned to bring only Kai with him into fox tribe territory, tasking the other serpent folk with escorting the fox children safely back to the serpent camp. He chose Kai for a simple reason. The tall, imposing serpent woman exuded an aura of reliable protection. What was more, the serpent tribe had too few able-bodied members to spare extra guards for the trip. If manpower had not been so limited, he would have gladly brought 8 or 10 guards along to fully safeguard his personal safety. After a lengthy wait by the river, Fox Susu arrived with the 5 child hostages. She spoke a string of earnest instructions to the young ones before the 2 groups completed the hostage handover. As soon as the exchange finished, Fox Susu led Jiangyang and Kai downstream along the river. Jiangyang took the chance to ask questions regarding the general location of the fox tribe settlement. Through their conversation, he finally mapped out the distribution of all major tribes living within this forest region. Using the 8-meter-wide river beside them as a geographical reference, the forest on the opposite riverbank, along with stretches of land beyond the tree line, belonged entirely to the Tiger Ear tribe's territory. Along this near riverbank, backed against a towering cliff mountain range, 3 tribes resided in sequence from upstream to downstream: the Serpent tribe, the Fox tribe, and the Antler tribe. These 3 tribes were forced into this mountain bend forest by the powerful Tiger Ear tribe, cut off from all contact with the outside world. Anyone wishing to travel east out of the forest had no choice but to pass straight through Tiger Ear tribe lands.